Yep, this is our new scanner.
Wow. And this scans all your tracks and will scan everything else around it as well?
Yeah, you can even scan yourself with it.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, don't tell Tony that I asked, but how do you turn it on?
You just hit this button, scan right here.
Cool. And then that's just going to move around?
Yep, it'll just do a rotation, scan away.
Oh, wow, that's cool. That's cool. That's real cool.
Hey, Kevin, can you come to the office for a minute?
Yeah,
I need to show you something.
there.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round number 3 of the Blancpain GT World Endurance Championship here, live on Racepot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live and on Twitch TV. Withington along with the gang. We've got Randy Kenneth, we've got ourselves Jake Sperry and Jimmy Broadbent, as well as we've got ourselves just a little over 3 minutes before qualifying. There's plenty to talk about, but the most important thing here today, Randy, is that this is a 6-hour event, not the standard 3 hours that we normally get in this series. 6 hours, and with that there's a lot of differences.
Oh yeah, certainly. The double race distance, it's opened up a lot. It potentially opens a lot up in the strategy books. Have to, really think about what your driver lineup's going to be. Do you run 3 people here? Do you maybe run your full 4-person roster? How will these teams with just 2 drivers do over the course of this 6-hour event?
So, we're about 2.5 minutes then away from qualifying. And well, this is one track where qualifying isn't necessarily as important as others. But, Jimmy, when we think about this race, you want to make sure, realistically, you're within about the top 10 places, mainly because you want to avoid the pandemonium that could take place on the first couple of laps. And also, put yourself into good stead with your first driver, making sure they can settle easily down into a rhythm.
Yeah, the start of the race is always a sort of a bit of a free-for-all, you can say, in these circumstances. You have to make sure your car is... You've got to keep it clean. It's a 6-hour race. There's no point going in at full chat straight away. Otherwise, you're just going to end up disappointing yourself and your team. And like you said, it's all about getting that rhythm. And at the start, you can't necessarily take the racing line you want to take for the first couple of laps. You have to deal with the cars around you. So keep it clean at the start and get ready to hunker down for 6 hours of racing.
Yeah, indeed, sir. And well, Jake, we think about this event. One of the big questions will be strategy. We'll talk about that in qualifying, but also, what about Team Redline? Because they are actually one of these teams that we're not used to seeing do these long 6-hour events. Commander, NX Racing especially, are very good at this. Other drivers, other teams even, not so much.
Well, it was heavily documented at the start of the season, even in pre-show build-up to what was the first round of the championship, that teams like Redline, who don't actually have their mainstay, teams like Apex Racing don't have their mainstay focus here in endurance racing. That this is, for some teams, maybe an afterthought, and that's been evident for a couple of teams. It's been a couple of struggles for a couple of teams up and down the field. It'll be interesting to see whether it's going to pay off in the long run for them or whether their focuses are anywhere else. But in my opinion, I think Redline are in a good position. They have shown that they can be up there fighting for very strong points. You look at Redline Black especially, there being in a very strong position, but they haven't really been outside of the top 15, Will. And that's going to be interesting later on when the big money points come into play.
Indeed, so we'll talk about changes to this year's schedule as well in just a little bit. We're going to step aside for a few minutes. Qualifying is coming up, and it's here on Racepot TV and on iRacing Live. Stick with us. He's typing. He's typing. He's got it. He's got it. It's a new line of code. I'll get my cake. Sorry. Welcome to one of the most famous racetracks in the world. Welcome to Spa-Francorchamps for 6 hours of Spa here in the Blancpain GT Series, the Blancpain GT World Endurance Championship. Now, we all remember what happened at Silverstone. Because of that, we're actually going to add ourselves another round to the schedule. That will be Imola. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But we're now here at Spa. This is a 6-hour race compared to the 3-hour event we're going to see elsewhere. And that means we are really looking forward to some excitement over the course of the next couple of hours here on Racespot TV and as ever on iRacing Live. 6-hour event. This track is 4.4 miles. That's a tad under 7 kilometers in length. We got some nice wind speeds here today of 10 kilometers an hour. Humidity 57%. That will affect the cars on some of the long acceleration zones here. Air temp is 70 degrees. That means the track temp will be in the region of about 100 to 105 a little bit later on. Wolverhampton along with the gang. We have got Jake Sperry, Randy Chenef, we got ourselves Jimmy B, and we've got Hugo Louise providing additional support for us here. So welcome to Twitch TV for all of you watching us for the first time. Welcome to iRacing Live. Qualifying is already underway, and that means it's about time we start showing you some action here. And we want to keep our attention really front and centre on the front of the field. And my pick on here right now, we need to pay attention to a couple of teams. But I just keep on seeing that name, Randy. PJ Sturgis can be fantastic in anything he gets behind the wheel of. I've got a feeling that actually he can be very, very strong here today.
Oh, I mean, definitely. PJ is one of the most seasoned and experienced sim racers on the planet, and he's really one of the only drivers who you can really say races everything. You'll see him in open wheel cars, you'll see him in GT cars, you'll see him in that sprint car every now and again, just to get a little bit crazy and have a little bit of short track fun. Both him and his brother Jake, some of the most talented guys on the planet, and they really bring a lot of firepower to that NX Racing team. I think here at Spa, they're going to be very, very strong, very hard to deal with for some of these teams.
Yep. Of course, PJ has run in all 3 World Championship Series along as his brother. His brother, Jake, actually almost won a race in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. They have both won races in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. So, that's one of our teams worth talking about. Of course, we've got to also pay attention to number 18, Coanda Sim Sports. There you can see they are on track right now. Marcus Lenderman behind the wheel of that number 18 machine, heading himself, Jake, through Fongia, exit of Fongia, as Yoni Tamara is the first to blink. He's set the fastest time so far.
Yes, he is, as we focus here on VRS Coanda Simsport 18, of course, reinvented the wheel by not taking tyres at the end of Silverstone. But you can see here, comes through corner pull threat, and now this is the second fastest car on the circuit. Now you're really cranking it through the gears, 150 miles an hour as you flick it left, and now Blancpain comes into view. Take it, the fast left-hander, and he is just lifting ever so slightly. 1 mile an hour goes off. We'll see what Lindemann can do here, because it's not over where you hit this chicane, this right-left, which was formerly the bus stop, because we're going to be using the endurance pits and not the Grand Prix pits. So the final corner on circuit here, Will, it's going to be last source, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this BMW fares.
Indeed so. So there we are. Well, actually, it looks as though Lindemann is going to go up to P3 for the time being. It is at its stands right now. Contigo leading the way. That is very interesting to see. There we can see heads of Sicilia right now in behind the wheel of that number 43 machine. And well, Contigo looking very strong here in qualifying. But still, another lap to go here, Jimmy. And that one could be very important.
Indeed, a lot of people just use the first qualifying lap or so as a site to get out there and see how the car's feeling. Obviously, you're in a qualifying setup as opposed to the race setup. The car will be different, usually a bit more skatey, usually a bit more oversteery to sort of account for the speed through the corners. And first lap sighter, second lap is where the business sort of comes into play. So I'm looking down the field, I'm looking at these INX cars, I'm looking at the Team Redline cars currently down, it looks like in about 10th and 11th place, sorry, 9th and 10th place. I'm wondering if we're going to see an improvement from them at all. But we'll wait and see. That we've got Hedges Sicilia now coming round, coming up to the last part of the circuit now to complete what will be his second lap. So it'll be interesting to see if he improves at all.
Yeah, we've got Yoni Tamada there in the mix as well in the iRacing red car. Of course, he was one of the first to blink that first time by. Let's then show you a look. Top 15 on the left-hand side of your screen. Who is going to be the driver ending up on pole position? We'll probably find out in the next couple of moments then. Contigo leading the way, but here then is the driver of iRacing Red as he storms towards the start-finish line. No, nothing good enough for him there. Tamada messes up. Let's have a look, see what Sicilia can do. Does he go faster? Answer to that question. His best time so far, 2:17.7. He has himself one more lap to go. Maximilian Benike, let's see what he can do. 2:17.790 was his first lap. Crosses the start-finish line. He's using it as a sighter, so he won't go any faster this time, Brian. Everyone kind of cooling those tyres down, Randy, getting themselves ready for a big lunge for that third and final lap.
Yeah, the track temps are a little bit warm here, so they really need to be careful on these out laps. They want to maintain these tire temps as much as they possibly can throughout that outlap, have as much potential pace in it as they possibly can. The PRT car looking very strong. Dark Antigua Racing Team obviously looking very competitive with that lap time. But of course, Dark Antigua, the thing to talk about with them, they're one of those two driver teams, and we've seen it before. Jesus Cecilia, he's very, very fast, but his teammate of David Alexis Jordan just doesn't seem to have the pace that he does. How will they be able to transfer that here in this 6-hour event at Spa?
Yeah. Let's ride on board then with Hesa Cecilia for a couple of corners as well. He's now heading himself for the corner of no name down towards Pouan he comes. Let's listen in. That, Randy, is what I like to call nice and smooth.
Yeah, Jesus is being very, very gentle here. He knows he has a good lap already. I mean, even if he gets picked here for pole, he'll still be starting P2, P3. Obviously, he wants to try to keep the pole if he can, just for those bragging rights, but no real point in going out and slinging it too hard out here and just getting yourself frustrated after messing up a good lap here in qualifying. Goes very, very close through between Stavolo 1 and 2, almost getting himself an off track and unlegitimizing that lap, but just right on the ragged edge is Jesus Cecilia as he makes the run now down into Blancpain on the bus stop.
Yeah, and it's worth noting PJ Sturgis has aborted his lap. So, and Mario Blattoli also aborting his lap. So two big teams then not going to be on pole position here today. Number 43 machine, Dark Contigo. Let's see what he can do as he heads himself now through the bus stop chicane for the final time in qualifying. A little bit scruffy there on the exit, but the time to beat for him is a 2:17. He doesn't go faster there on the third lap. Let's get a look then left-hand side of your screen. Maximilian Benike now heading himself down towards the bus stop chicane. Out he comes on towards pit road, so he can't go any faster. Marcus Lindemann, number 18 machine. Can he do something? No. Yes.
He's
going
on
to
an
stay on
outlap.
track.
He's on an outlap.
Yeah, you're right. He's on an outlap, so he's got a little bit more time to go. Karana Sim Sports, are they going to try and steal it at the very, very end, Jake.
Well, it's going to be very interesting to see what they can do. Another team that you need to focus on here, Will, is a team that hasn't scored a time yet. That's the number 33, who always seems to pop up in endurance races on an outlap at the moment. Alexander Voss behind the Core Motorsports car, always up there, always in the top 5. Might be the same, but it's going to be crunch time, Will, especially when you got two teams as esteemed as these two that are going to go for a glory or bust.
Yeah, let's go on to Sim Sports behind the trees. There might even be a Pokemon in there, who knows. But the Commander Sim Sports driver now heading himself down towards Lacune. That right, left, right sequence of corners. Let's listen in with Marcus Lenderman. Not a bad lap so far here, Jimmy. So we're just going to get the sector one time up on your screen, hopefully. 38.482, so not bad for him there. Just needs to be very careful now for this middle sector not to throw it away.
We'll see how he gets to the middle sector. Obviously, getting set up right round here is a bit of a nightmare because you have two sectors that are very fast and very slow, and you have the middle sector, which is just a series of mechanical and aero grip corners. So you see people being fast through the first sector, then slow from the middle, and again fast through the third. It makes for a very interesting strategy around here. It looks quite clean so far there, no mistakes as of yet. Not too sluggish, nice and wide there coming into the this right-hander. Now up the hill, you can go quite wide here. That's using all the curb on the outside. Now just going up the hill, a little bit of a respite if you're a driver here. A little bit of a chance just to sort of calm down before coming up to Blancpain, which, as we know, is pretty much just yanking the wheel to the left and hoping the car grips. Goes nice and wide on the entrance, touches the curb on the inside and the outside, very nice and clean through there. And now coming up to the bus stop. Let's see if he improves this lap time at all.
Well, 57.5 was the middle sector there. But now, out of the final chicane, Marcus Lenderman gunning for glory. Can he get pole position? The time to beat then is a 2:17.7. He doesn't do it. Third place is where he will remain. iRacing Blue, though, still on track with Dave Gillen. They are always a threat in circumstances like this. Remember that time, 2:17.769 to beat. Right now, iRacing are 0.2 of a second back. Out of the final corner then, they are going to come. Are they going to be able to dance themselves and move themselves to pole position? The answer to that question is no. Put them out of the frame as well. And I think, realistically, that pretty much is everyone in terms of qualifying who is worth
still have two more We still have two more. Yeah, Voss and Gecko Vortex Sim Racing Red. Remember that team very, very close to winning a race at Monza.
Yep, so there is Alexander Voss actually. Let's give him a bit of love. There we can see then the Core Motorsports car. They do not want to be P36 on the grid. They need to really put themselves up into the top 10. We ride on board with that Audi number 33 machine. Look at how he was throwing that car through Blancpain. And well, sector times for him. Let's have a look. 38.0. Second sector wasn't that good actually for Core Motorsports, we don't think. But now, out the final corner, what's going to happen? Core Motorsports coming towards the start-finish line. 218.3. 20th place only then for Core Motorsports. And well, Randy, that is not the day they really want.
That's not nearly what we expect out of Core Motorsports. I think the fact there, Alexander Voss, he just had to kind of take a safe lap there. He had 1x to his first two, was unable to really get the complete pace out of it. Because of that, he kind of had to take a safe lap, couldn't take any risks. He'd be better off just starting 20th now than trying to sling it all out there, going for glory for pole, grabbing a 1x and starting all the way from the back. Let's see what Gecko Vortex Sim Racing can do here.
Around the same time is what they're looking at. They should, yeah, they will get back to the start-finish line in time. I was just starting to wonder, would they actually make it to the start-finish line in time? They will do. A couple other people on laps right now. You've got Anders Dahl, number 77 machine. We'll keep an eye out on that one. We've got Leighton Fine in the number 23 machine. That is something we need to keep an eye out. Alexia Loma, number 42 car on track. Currently P number 12 in qualifying. JK Vortex Sim Racing then, they want to be much higher than 36th here today. They do not want to be in 36th position. Out the final corner then will come Gecko Vortex Sim Racing. Past the start finish line, Martin Van Hove, what's the time going to be for him? 2:18.8. That's not great. That is not great at all. That's going to only put them in P number 30. Glacier Racing, BES Alexi Loma won't get back to the line in time. Martin Skirpatrick won't, also there in the Triton Racing car. So that is pretty much qualifying over. And very quickly, here's a look then at your starting grid for this afternoon's event. And it's going to be Heza Cecilia, number 43 machine, who will get himself the front row here in the Dark Contigo Racing Team car. Pure Racing Team alongside him, front row of the grid. Koala Sim Sports in third, NX Racing Yellow in P number 4. We'll cycle that grid back on for you. Question time, Jimmy. Is it going to be slight to flag for that team out front?
Well, looking at the qualifying, I mean, I've just been looking through the results now. I just saw someone in our Twitch chat saying that Core Motorsport being off the pace. Let's have a look at the positions. I think it's from 8th to 19th place. We have a 10th separating these cars. Pace-wise, they are incredibly similar, so it's not going to be a case of the people at the front driving away, I don't think at all. I think it's going to be who can position their car the best at the start of the race, and who can keep those times up consistently. Because it's all well and good to go fast over a single lap, as we know, but if you can't do that in the race, then you're going to end up falling down the order very quickly.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we need to step aside for just literally 60 seconds. We'll be back with the race after this.
So, hey, this is the new iRacing scanner, right?
Yep, this is our new scanner.
Wow. And this scans all your tracks and will scan everything else around it as well?
Yeah, you can even scan yourself with it.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, don't tell Tony that I asked, but how do you turn it on?
You just hit this button, scan right here.
Cool. And then that's just going to move around?
Yep, it'll just do a rotation, scan away.
Oh, wow, that's cool. That's cool. That's real cool.
Hey, Kevin, can you come to the office for a minute?
Yeah,
I need to show you
right
something.
there.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to know what happens, don't worry. We'll show it to you at some point in the broadcast. But 10 seconds then left before these drivers head themselves through Blancpain and then head themselves down to the start of this 6-hour event. There are a couple of penalties that we'll run through those over the first couple of laps. Also worth noting for those of you just joining us, of course, remember what happened at Silverstone. We've added another race in at the end of the season at Imola to compensate for that. And also, in the event that happens again, we have got procedures in place. The race will be red flag. If necessary, we'll go back to caution and we'll take it from there. So, here we are. Let's get ready to race, because that is what we're here to do and that is what we love. Worth noting, Gregor Hutu is well down the field here today, but we got ourselves a fantastic sequence of cars ready to go racing, and this is what we love. Seeing all of these cars at this track getting themselves ready to go racing. There you can see, closer to the front of the field. That pace car is going to pull on towards pit road, putting the command in the field, in the command even of the number 43 machine. The race doesn't start here. You've got to wait a minute. But they're going to go anyway. Number 43 machine is starting to pick up the pace. They're supposed to wait until after they get out of La Source. This could actually cause a couple of issues for drivers, because that number 43 machine is racing already. They're going a lot faster than they need to do. But anyway, it's okay, because the green flag will be out right about now. Now they can really go racing.
Contact already. First man from Bravado Black. There are 3 wide coming out of the source. They're in the pit wall just after turn number 1.
Yeah, but we'll go and focus ahead, because we've got a fantastic battle there, and it's going to be worth noting, because they were all really trying to stack themselves up, we can have a pass for the race lead to the outside. Here goes Pure Racing Team, number 73 machine, to the outside. Will he get that pass complete? They're side by side. Nope, he's going to fall into line. So Benike then, second place. Heza Cecilia leading. PJ Sturgis is in third place. We've got ourselves a 4-car breakaway side by side. Ollie Packler there versus the driver of Dave Gilling for P number 5, Jake.
Yes, we do, and what a start it was. He just tried to get away early, and I think Dark Contigo actually hit the brakes just a little bit before heading up towards the Eau Rouge complex. Didn't quite work out. Still have to lead at the moment, but Ollie Packler holding on for the moment in 5th, but will have to stay close to the VRS Coanda car ahead if they want to stay within this race, because it's very easy to lose time early on, and it's very difficult to get that time back.
Yeah, we've got ourselves a 4-car breakaway out front. We're riding on board with the 4th driver in this train. It is Marcus Lenderman. Worth noting, track temp has eked up now to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Air temp is still 70 degrees. Wind speed of 10 kilometers an hour. We'll get live timing and scoring up for you in a couple of moments' time. But right now, Pakula versus Geeling, they're side by side once again as they head themselves on the exit of Stavolo. They're going to try and go side by side on the run to Blancpain. It's going to be a case of who got the biggest cajones right now, Jimmy, as they come down, and it looks as though it will be Pakula ahead of Geeling. Now Geeling is going to have Patrick Pitchler looking to the outside into Blancpain.
Oh, a very scary place to have hit. Oh, just getting on the brakes there, trying to turn in. There was no room left to do that. Had to slow down that Pure Racing 71 car now, which is going to put him under threat from the 21 Audi behind him. Oh, around the outside comes another Audi. That means he's going to make a move there. No, it's not. That is the number 12 machine. That's the Pure Racing number 12. He's still there though. He seems to pull ahead of the 21 now on the inside of the bus stop. And everyone's got through there okay, which is nice, but that could have quite easily ended in tears.
Right, we've got a couple of people on pit road serving penalties there. You can see an Orion race team. You can see a Team Redline car. They are all on pit road. There's one other, the Triton Motorsports car on pit road. It looks as though Bessie is on pit road as well. We'll run through all the penalties, why they had to come down in a couple of moments' time. But out front, Jake, and a minute ago, you talked about the fact that you had to, if you're the driver at Ollie Pakula, stay in the mix. Because of the fact that they all did that fighting on the exit of Stavolo down to the bus stop chicane, gap is now 2.2 from Coanda to Team Redline.
Yeah, and it's just a shame for Ollie Pakula because he was there within a second, just ran a little bit wide down at the double left of Pouon, and that just allowed the car of Dave Geeling's InX Racing Blue to come back into the mix. That was the problem that left Ollie Pakula in trouble. That means he's lost that gap now, he's off the back, he won't get slipstream, and now he's playing a game of defense, not offense. And now we have a train of 4 with about 5 hours and 55 minutes to go. Well, 57 minutes to go, looking for an opportunity for a victory.
Yeah, Corsim racing there. Frederick Rasmussen, he just lost it on the curb, and well, you don't want to lose it on the curbs early on in this event, because I think there's going to be about 3 or 4 cars that's going to go past him as he does a little bit of off-roading there. Don't run in the high grass. You've got to make sure you keep your eyes out on track at the start of this winter race. But Corsim racing now down into P24 on track. So, got a couple of people. One driver, David Williams, number 88 machine. They did not start this motor race. You've got one driver already scored as a lap down. There is a Frostmaster Movano black car. Well, that really, Randy, is a car that looks a little bit too beaten up for our liking.
Yeah, that's going to be really, really tough for them. Obviously involved in that first lap incident due to the early start and the early scuffles and the 3-wide incident that came out of La Source. It's not going to look very strong for them. I think not how they wanted to get this 6-hour race started.
You've got to ask the question, though. Do you think there should maybe have been a penalty handed out to Da Contigo for trying to go too early there?
It's one of those things that I know I've seen in official series before. People will hit the gas coming out of that bus stop chicane, but I think here in a big world stage series like this, I think you have to have the green flag after the correct corner. And here on the endurance side of things, on this endurance layout at Spa, the start happens after La Source and turn 1 is supposed to be Eau Rouge. I think that part of the reason we saw the field get so stacked up and we saw all those side-by-side moments is because Dark Contigo went so early, and now we are seeing this 4-car breakaway. Actually, it's really the 1-car breakaway as Jesus is really kind of running away with it. I think a penalty, it would be a little strange, but if it was called, I wouldn't be surprised, and I'd actually probably support it.
InX Racing Yellow, PJ Sturgios, Pure Racing Team, number 73, Maximilian Beneke right now, scrapping it out for 2nd place. This is when that offense versus defense question comes in quite heavily, Jimmy, because InX Racing Yellow last time by, they were pretty much on pace with PRT. Marcus Lenderman was the fastest driver on track. The question is going to be, though, if they start fighting, are they just going to allow that number 43 machine of Heza Cecilia just disappear?
There is that as well. I mean, we do have a very long time ahead of us, so I wouldn't be too bothered about the gap at the moment. Obviously, as a racing driver, you don't want to see anyone drive away from you, but what I'd be more worried about actually is the Team Redline Blue car behind them of Ollie Pakula. Bear in mind that he's very quick as well, and if these guys start squabbling, then this free car sort of pack currently fighting for second place will become a 4-car pack, and then for the Coanda SimSport car, that means instead of just looking forward, they're going to be looking forward and behind them, which is more work to do in the car, both physically and mentally. So I think at this point they're just happy sort of just to follow each other around, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe down the back straight at coming up to Lake Coombe, we see sort of overtakes there, because that's the easiest place to overtake in terms of straight line speed. You don't really compromise your corners at all, so that's where we're going to see most of the action, I think. But at the moment they seem to be happy to follow each other around.
We're actually riding ourselves on board of Oni Pakala then in that number 38 machine, and it'll be worth seeing what the lap times are this time by. They're going to work themselves all now through the bus stop chicane. Pakala there, very late on the brakes, and actually we've got a car just ahead of Maxima Beneke, number 73 machine, on towards pit road. Heads to Cecilia, sets the fastest lap of the day. Team Red Line, well, that was a fast lap as well, actually, 218.8 for Team Red Line Blue. And, well, had a couple of people on towards pit road early. We'll try and explain that one to you very quickly now. And part of the reason for that is because there are a lot of penalties that happened after the last race. We had ourselves a Ryan Race team having themselves a drive-through penalty. Mad Cow Racing, Bessie, a drive-through penalty. It was a drive-through also for the number 34.
Been making a move.
Yep, as you can see, Sturgis there versus Lenderman. Lenderman's up into P number 2. Team Red Line Green, I say, got a drive-through penalty. Pure Racing team got themselves a drive-through penalty as well. And there was a 2-lap penalty for VOS Command SimSports number 88. Not the car that you're looking at right now, as Lenderman moves himself now up into second place in this event, 3 seconds behind your race leader. But all of a sudden, Marcus Lenderman seems to have found himself a little bit of speed here, Randy.
He certainly has. We haven't actually seen him in this championship yet due to time zone constraints, and here this is going to be his first round and possibly the only round he can compete. You saw him out there in qualifying looking very, very strong. He is usually Coanda's GT qualifying kind of ace, the guy they kind of just throw out there to try to get themselves pole, obviously putting themselves P3, so maybe not quite what he wanted. I'm sure Marcus isn't quite satisfied with that, but I'm sure a little bit of nerves here for Marcus. This is his first real representation out here for himself on this world stage in this series. I think he's struggling a little bit in the early goings with that, as well as dealing, I know personally, just talking with him, a little bit of personal illness, and because of that, not quite having the pace he's used to. But I think as this run gets a little bit further in, I think around lap 8, lap 9, lap 10, we'll see him really come into his own, and I think that Coanda BMW will really be harassing the back of that Dark Contigo Racing team here by the end of this first stint.
Worth noting, Matt Backham in 11th place in that Radical Online car. You got Iberica Racing just ahead of him, and so far in this motor race, well, Matt Backham's up 5 places, so all good for him time being. I want to go back and talk about that number 73 machine of Benike. And, well, Jake, he waited until he had to come on towards pit road to actually do himself his penalty. He's now down in P number 31, and you'll have a look at the gap to the race leader, 47 seconds. That's how long it takes to come down pit road, realistically, here in this series here today. Do you think he did the right thing by running up front and not coming onto pit road as lap 1 completed like some of the other drivers did?
Well, I think it's a bold decision by PRT at the end of the day, because we know how quick Beneke can be, we know how quick the team is, you know how highly they qualified here at Spa, and well, if you're going to come in on the second lap, there's nothing to say that you can't do it. And I think it's actually quite clever, because you see all the guys that come in the first stop, and then you have yourself a marker to try and say, I've got to break away, I've got to try and get a gap to these guys, so I'm the best of those guys. And then he has clear air in that respect, and now he can push, now he can challenge. Looking here at Thrustmaster Red right now, here with Glacier Racing on the inside, then down into Lakecom in that BES1 number 42 machine, still side by side as they head towards Malmedina, the right-hander, and at the moment, it just seems for the time being that Alexia Loma will drop a position.
Yeah, indeed, but they're going to stay side by side now as they head down into Rivage. Look at that gaggle of 10-ish cars. That is mighty close. All 10 of them, I'm just having a look down on the timing and scoring, separated by 1.6 seconds, Randy.
Yeah, this is absolutely impressive racing. You're seeing side by side as well through no-name corner, and still just, I mean, it is kind of, it's mostly a 10-car gap, but you can see, if you just go to a stationary cam, it'd be just endless numbers of GT3 cars coming out of Pujon this time by. Gregor Hutu's in this mix as well. If you say Gregor Hutu can't work his way through a field cleanly, well, he's doing it right now. He's already up 4 positions from where he started. Core Motorsports car, actually, of Alexander Voss, started right behind him, and Alexander has just followed Gregor through this field. They're both just trying to cleanly work themselves to the front.
Yeah, there you can see then, car after car, race car, heading themselves through the final chicane, now through Stavolo. Let's listen in. That's a lot of very fast cars there, all working in very close proximity. This is that gaggle of cars though, Jimmy, that we were talking about, that were pretty much separated by a tenth of a second in qualifying. Now trying to find track position in the race. We see a little bit of passing going on. That's Bavano trying to get themselves past Iberia. As behind that is, I believe, Matt Backham actually. No, it's Sylvien in the other Radicals machine. He's working himself right now. He's being passed by Gregor Hutu.
Hutu going around the outside, going to attempt it at the source. Let's see if he gets it done. Goes very wide. We're going to have the Radicals car on the inside. It's like, I think I heard contact there, maybe against the wall. Might have clipped the wall on the way through there, but they seem to be okay. Now going side by side down to Rouge. At a corner where you don't really want to be going alongside anyone here, to be honest. Who's going to give up first? Hutu backs out of it. Experience there, taking I think the same decision and deciding to stay behind now. But that might actually leave him now under attack from the core car, which is now behind him, having to slow down coming up to Rouge. Yes, that is right, that 33 core machine now of Alexander Voss coming around the outside of Hutu. This might be Hutu actually losing. Yes, he is now round the outside. Is he going to make a move here? Yes, he is. Brakes, so he covers the inside. Hutu, nearly just cuts the nose off a tiny bit there, but position gained.
Yeah, and now Hutu's under pressure from Benjamin Smith in the Evolution Racing Australia machine as they now come down in towards Rivage once again. But this is some fantastic close quarters racing, and this is why a number of people love this third World Championship series. And of course, it's all about team racing as well. You're not going to see Gregor Hutu driving for 6 hours. He's going to have to hand that car over to teammates at some point in this motor race. And it's going to be very interesting to see the dynamic and what these teams will do over the course of the 6 hours. At the front of this train, Alexia Loma, they can see him in the number 42 machine, up about 4 places. Indeed, he is up 4 places in the Audi. And one thing we haven't really talked about here yet, Randy, is the different cars. Of course, we've got ourselves the Audi, we've got ourselves the Mercedes, we've got ourselves the BMW, et al. And they always have different characteristics. Talk us through who's winning and who's losing car manufacturer-wise here today.
Well, here at Spa, I think we're going to have a really good representation of balance of performance. I think the only real car that would be a real underdog would be that McLaren out there. The other 3 cars, the Audi, the BMW, and the Mercedes. The Mercedes and the BMW are both relatively similar, being front-engine cars. They both don't quite have the top end when they make a lot of downforce. The BMW being the slowest in the straight and the Mercedes having a slight advantage, but the Mercedes is heavier, so watch that BMW. It'll be quicker through the tighter sections as well as the corners as well. That Audi, although it does have a lot of downforce, it is pretty slippery through these faster corners. Watch for those guys to struggle through corners such as Eau Rouge and Pouhon. However, the BMW and the Mercs, that's what they'll be making all their time, those fast sweeping corners where the downforce really matters.
Just had an update. Rasmussen had himself a little bit of damage, and Virgil Racing Black just literally using the chrome horn there versus Martin Van Hoover. I think that was on the run through La Source. We saw it, and now they're going to be side by side with an Apex machine as they head themselves side by side through Air Rouge, through Radion. No, they go back to single file. But Virgil Racing there considered using that chrome horn, and well, Jake, that was close. That could have been a 4-car incident.
It really could have. It could have been a whole lot more because it is incredibly tight. Now you've got to look at what is Iberica Racing Interactive 4. Christian Quintanuski there behind the wheel looking at Anders Dahl. Round the outside at Lacom. If he gets the move sorted, it's genius. And I think it might just be a little bit of genius indeed because it's a fantastic move from Quintanuski. He's +1 again. And now you can see that train there. And this is down in what is 20th down. Massive train, massive battles, minor points up for stake.
But every point matters. Every point matters in this series. And people running down in this position know that track position now can lead to dividends later in the motor race. Get them while they're stacked up. It can be easier that way rather than having to try and push lap after lap to try and close down a 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 second gap. Out front, the gap from P1 to P2 is 4 seconds right now. And well, Jake, it seems to be that Darcontigo are consistently lap after lap faster than Coanda. One will ask the question though, are Coanda taking those tyres easier, especially as what we saw at Silverstone?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see whether Coanda are going to use that to play as their advantage, or another fact that the second driver, Dark Contigo, has been noted as possibly the weak link to Dark Contigo. You can say for all that Jesus Cecilia is, David Alexi Jordan is not, and that could be the deciding factor when it comes into it. I think Cecilia is going to try and push 4 stints today and 2 stints then for David Alexi Jordan, and we're going to see here how they're going to try and open up that gap here, Dark Contigo, but I do expect it to close in the last 2 hours. I think Coanda are going to be easy on their tyres, but their strategy isn't now as, what I'd say, surprising as anyone else, because now that you've shown that one trick, you don't want to be a one-trick pony.
Having a look from the rear of the Pure Racing Team car. Hey, anyone got any s'mores right now? Because of course we know that McLaren pumps out a lot of fire. There we are, as it goes up the crest from Eau Rouge into Radion, just kicking up the flames is that PRT machine. And well, so far in that motor race, they're up 1 place. They started 7th, they're now running in P number 6. Of course, that is a consequence of the number 73 machine having himself that penalty. Flames again. Right behind, you've got yourself Inex Racing Red, Yoni Tamada, who set the pace early in qualifying. Well, really, Jimmy, we were expecting maybe Yoni to be a little bit higher up in the field here today, but P number 7 isn't a bad start for them.
No, not at all. I mean, we are very early on in this race, as I'll say, until we get to the last half an hour or so. But it's not like he's falling behind at all either. He's glued to the back of the McLaren front here of the Pure Racing Team, which might add is actually the highest placed McLaren at the moment. So doing a good job there is Patrick Pilcher. Just to very quickly go back to what we were saying about the 73 car with Maximilian Benek in it. He is lapping very fast at the moment, 2:19.4, it was his last lap. I mean, we have to go quite a long way up the field to find someone lapping in those sort of times. We're looking at about 13th or 12th place, so he is catching up the back of the field, and I think maybe taking this opportunity to pit at the start of the race was a good idea, because he's got clear air. He might not have a tow, but he's got no one around him, so I think doing that, getting some most clear laps at the rate, it's making the best of a bad situation in his eyes.
Of course, that penalty's now put them down. Overall, two-race leader, 49.4 seconds back. But there is one thing actually worth noting here, Randy, about that number 73 car. I'm having a look at the guys ahead of him, and they are 2 to 3 seconds a lap slower. In about 20 minutes' time, we're going to have some fun going on board this PRT machine.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Max Benecke, he's showing impeccable pace right now, but like you said, he's going to be coming onto the back of these drivers, and if they don't get spread out, he's going to have a huge amount of trouble getting through this traffic. I mean, if you just look through the timing screen, basically from about P15 down to about P25, P26, actually almost back to P30, every single car is separated by a second or less. That'll make it very, very tricky for Max to be able to get through them. He needs to hope that those guys can break themselves up a little bit before he can get them, so he can efficiently work his way through this field.
Riding on board of NX Racing Red and Yoni Tamada. We talked about this battle a moment ago. Tamada, well, he's got himself a good run down the back straightaway, but it's worth noting that the draft isn't playing a major factor just yet in this motor race. Want to get social with us? Of course you can do it. If you're watching on Twitch Live, you can do P7, P8. We've got a lot of battle going on with them, with Alexi Aloma and Mario Bertoli there. And as Alexi Aloma is now up into P number 8. Get social with us /RaceSpot.tv on Facebook at RaceSpot.tv. If you are one of those people that like to check the Twitter, there's a nice gaggle of cars right now. It's that gaggle of cars we've been talking about already in this motor race as well. We've got ourselves a lot of people very close together. Matt Backham is there in the mix of this one. He's currently about 4 tenths of a second behind the Iberica Racing bank machine of Nestor Garcia Jr. right now. And, well, it seems to be right now, Jake, that they're running themselves in close proximity. This can be a blessing and a curse, though, for some drivers, because you sometimes just get yourself into a rhythm and you forget what your true pace is.
Yeah, it is very difficult when you're running in a train, because you do get affected by the dirty air, although it is a little bit less than you can see in some other series, but it is enough to say that you can't run 100% all the time. You have to run sometimes 99, 98, sometimes even down as far as 95%, just to make sure that you're hitting the track nicely, you're getting it clean, making sure you're not picking up those instant points. And well, for a driver like Matt Backham here, who could feel that maybe on a couple of drives he's a little bit quicker, you've got to stay patient, you've got to wait, and you can even go back to Maximilian Beneke, you've got to do all your moves one at a time. You can't think about the big picture until you chop it down into sections, Will.
Tomala versus Geelink, P6, P7. Actually, that's not Keeling. That's Tamana and Patrick Peachler. And Yoni Tamana is now up into P number 6. Let's get ourselves another look at that pass then, as they headed themselves down through Blancpain towards the bus stop chicane. Nice and simple pass there. Mercedes on a McLaren, and it's just like, yeah, you know what? I'm taking the inside line. And the number 7 machine was like, okay, off you go. Corner's yours. World-class commentary here on Racesport TV. As we've got ourselves Alexia Loma, P number 7 versus P number 8. We've got Mario as they head themselves down into the Air Rouge Radio Complex. Once again, from the rear of Alexia Loma, gap is 2.5 tenths of a second. You can hear the whine of these two Audis as they work themselves up the hill, Randy.
Yeah, the Audis, I think they have the most iconic engine note of all these cars out here. The BMW and the Mercedes, they have that kind of deep V8 sort of growl, and the McLaren kind of represents the middle ground between the Audi and the BMW and Merc. But this Audi, I think, is just definitely the best-sounding car out here of these four.
You know what? Let's ride a couple of corners on board with the driver, who's currently running himself in P number 9. This is Racesport TV fan immersion on board with the driver of Mario Bellotti in the Thrustmaster Movano red car. Of the GT machines. Look how close it is between these guys, like, as they exit themselves out of the bus stop down towards La Source one more time in this event. Well, it's been a good clean start to this event. I would say only one driver really out of this event. That is Sebastian Filosa in number 321 machine. David Williams is the last running driver. Of course, he has scored many laps down, 3 laps down. Part of that's because of the fact that, of course, he had to take himself a penalty due to previous incidents so far in this series. Down in your pack once again, let's check out, we've got this battle with Aloma and Bertolli that we keep on looking at. A little bit further on, Frederick last week we highlighted that he's got some damage in that core motorsports car here, Randy, and actually they're holding on, but they've got the Evolution Racing Australia machine of Benjamin Smith just ahead.
Yeah, they are holding on very, very well. I mean, Frederick obviously has a decent amount of damage on that front end. However, these cars can be relatively resilient on that front end when it comes to contact. It's really the side-to-side that you have to worry about. I'm sure this costing him a little bit of time, mostly in drag. But, oh, he gets very close to Ravage. So Frederick Rasmussen, even with that damage, still being very, very brave here.
Yep. And it's Core Sim Racing, not Core Motorsports. I do apologise. Core Sim Racing. Core Sim Racing. We'll get that one right. Just ahead of them, you've got yourself the Radicals Online machine there, scrapping it out with one Jose Sanchez in the Audax Motorsports machine. Battle for P number 13, P number 14 right now. Radicals versus Audax, they have battled many a time in GT platforms. As having a look last time by, a 10th faster was at Radicals Online GT machine, but really that means nothing when you're running in a pack as tight as this. Let's have a look at some of your movers and shakers in this event so far. You can see that Glacier Racing are your biggest movers inside your top 10. They are up 4 places. NX are also up 4 places as well so far. Iberica are up 3 places. Only losers so far, that was Frostmaster Movano. PRT down 3. Radicals Online Steel Series up 7 places. That's a big one. We've got side by side, by the way. That's Florian Wheat versus one Jose Sanchez. That is PRT number 12, losing 1 position. Going to lose 2 positions in the same corner there. Momentum can be such a big thing in this series. And while Floating Roof there just lost an absolute ton of it, he's going to stay side by side with the Radicals Online machine down in towards La Source. They will go, working themselves up the hill. And it looks to be that Radicals machine is actually going to tuck back in behind. But it's going to be a waiting game now as they work themselves up the hill here, Jimmy.
Yeah, they nearly made contact there. That was on the Voss and the core motorsports guy. I actually had to back out of that to avoid contact with the Radicals online car. But now they're all hitting the slipstream. Voss here actually has the best slipstream. He's got 2 cars in front of him, double slipstream. Won't be enough to make any sort of move here, but it will bring him back into contention. And we've seen that a lot here today, where cars starting to pull away. You get up to the Kemble Straight again, and they're sort of dragged back in again by that slipstream, and it's playing a vital part here.
We just heard a rooster. Who's got a rooster?
It's it. Might be me.
Okay, ladies and
A little bit
gentlemen.
of old McDonald here at Spa.
Yeah, E-I-E-I-O, indeed. Dave Keeling there. Dave Keeling has fallen
That's a
behind
first
Ollie
for
Packard. Yeah, we had. Fallen behind Ollie Packard just a little bit in this battle for P number 4. Your top 8 then, down at the bottom of your screen. And Dark Ortigo now with a 4.5 second advantage over Koana Sim Sports. NX Racing Yellow running themselves in 3rd. Team Redline Blue are in 4th. Then NX Racing Blue, NX Racing Red running themselves nose to tail. Pure Racing Team. Dark Ortigo's on towards pit road. Is he on pit road or is he at the moment? He's off.
He's crashed off of Stavolo. Oh my God. Jesus Cecilia from an absolutely massive gap. We talked about his teammate of David Alexis Jordan possibly being the X Factor here. Jesus Cecilia just coming off of Stavolo 2. Just got car just breaking loose, spinning off to the left there. Just running that car probably a little bit too much on the ragged edge aerodynamically. You can't do that in these 6-hour races. You have to be consistent.
Wow. Let's have a replay then on board of him. Onto first curve. He started drifting on the
watch for
exit of
traffic
the...
coming into the bus stop as he comes through.
Yeah, it's going to be careful, but we're going to show you one more replay. And the reason why is he actually lost this one on the entry curve to the second part of Stavolo. So that's a reason why you see there, that car, he just touches the white line there, and he's going to start drifting across the racetrack. So that back end was already sliding before he even hits that exit curve, and he tries to counteract the steer, and from there, well, hello, tyre barrier. And well, Jesus Cecilia from the race lead out of the event. How often in World Championship Series do you see your race leader binning it? They're on pit road, and oh my word, we don't often see that one happen, Jimmy.
No, we don't. It's a real shame. You see him try to correct that on the way in, and he just the car gripped and then shot him into the wall. Just while that was happening, we had Ollie Packard in the Team Redline Blue car. He's just taken second place away from PJ Sturgis in the NX Racing Yellow car. So he's now fighting for second place, whereas a couple of laps ago he was down in 4th. So, but now as a result of Hazard's going out, or maybe having a long time in the pits anyway. Our top 3 are now a lot closer again. They're about 3 or 4 seconds between them, as opposed to about 5 or 6 we had before. So this race is open right back up again.
Oh yeah, it is wide open right now. It's not often you see the driver binning it in any form of racing. I remember Mika Hakkinen in 1999 at Monza binning it and then going behind the front straightaway wall to have a little bit of a cry. I think Jesus Cecilia might be in a similar state of mind right now. But well, that has changed your top 8 then. Half an hour scored complete in round number 3 of the Blancpain GT World Endurance Championship here on Racesport TV, streaming live on iRacing Live. For the first time today, it's time to take you Racesport TV side by side.
So hey, this is the new iRacing scanner, right?
Yep, this is our new scanner.
Wow. And this scans all your tracks and will scan everything else around it as well?
Yeah, you can even scan yourself with it.
Oh, that's awesome. Don't tell Tony that I asked. Well, how do you turn it on?
You just hit this button, scan right here.
Cool. And then that's just going to move around?
Yep, it'll just do a rotation, scan away.
Oh, wow, that's cool. That's cool. That's
Yeah.
real cool.
Hey, Kevin, can you come to the office for a minute?
Yeah,
I need to show you
right
something.
there.
He's typing. He's typing. He's got it. He's got it. It's a new line of code. I'll get my code. Sorry. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Racesport TV, streaming live on iRacing Live. Well, we're having a look here at the exit curb of Radion, and there's a reason why we're doing so. Because of the fact that this is one of the corners where drivers often fall foul of exceeding the track limits, Randy. And what that does, in this circumstance, it means that they have to slow down. It will hurt them all the way down the chemical straightaway. But we are thinking that Marcus Lenderman in that number 18 machine needs to calm it down a little bit. And we know for a fact that Martin Kroenke et al. Are some of the, I'm going to say, the most consistently inside the white line drivers I know on iRacing. Marcus Lenderman at the moment, not so much.
Yeah, Marcus right now, I mean, he's really pushing everything on the line right now, trying to get himself a gap, but he's really being liberal with these track limits right now, and if he keeps that up, I would not be surprised if the racing officials have to say something about it, maybe even DQ that car. It's just the way it goes, but like you said, here at Spa, the track limits. Eau Rouge and Radion Complex, that's a place it's easy to get a 1X, through Lacombe, through Rivage, through No Name Corner, through Pujon, through Stavelo, pretty much every corner here, I think with the exception of the bus stop and maybe La Source, are very, very easy to rack up the 1Xs here. And simply put, you have to keep it between the white lines here to keep yourselves out there on track, even as per what the race officials say.
Yeah, and race officials have been very strict here today compared to what was being expected. So that one could really throw some spanners in some works a little bit later on in the day. We've been looking at this battle for a while, but we are getting ourselves now close to that first round of pit stops. We've got ourselves a nice little freeway going on, four-way even. Gregor Hutu at the rear of that train, going to ride on board with a Gregor Hutu. And it seems to be that early on in this stint, he was very happy to go all gang ho and try and find positions. We always remember the fact that he went too wide into Rouge at one point. But well, Jake, he seems to have calmed it down a little bit right now. But we know we're entering the stage of the race, the stage of the stint that I like to call Gregor Hutu style.
Yeah, it is. You just got to stay calm, just got to stay composed, and Gregor Hutu is the master of just making sure that he just keeps the status quo. You can see a bit of a look there on Sylvain Pomeradi's Radicals Online GT car there. Was just looking to try and force an issue, force a mistake. Didn't happen, so he'll stay behind. He'll wait very calmly into the corner with No Name, but he's got to be careful here in the middle of a group, because you can be there attacking all you like, but he's got to worry about the car behind. That's the Evolution Racing Australia Blancpain WC car. That is Benjamin Smith behind the wheel in the number 70. And where you have to say, if you can't attack and you have to defend, that is always going to be a problem, because that gap will always open and open up a little bit more there, Will.
Yeah, we're riding on board with the Evolution Racing Australia number 70 machine actually right now as well. That Logitech car, I have to say, it looks absolutely fantastic on that car, Jake.
Oh yes, it really does, and you have to say that Evolution Racing Australia have really put in a stint actually with trying to find sponsors, trying to get themselves to be bigger and bigger. I think they're the premier racing team in Australia, that alongside the Mad Cow racing team as well. And they really are just trying to put in a massive effort, trying to get more global, trying to get more recognition. I think they're doing exactly the right thing here, and especially when they're getting a lot of screen time like they are right now, they'll really be looking to try and cause a couple of upsets, especially if they can get themselves past Mr. 5-time.
Indeed so. Of course, for those of you who are new to all of this, Gregor Hutu is a five-time iRacing world champion of Grand Prix racing. Of course, different series here today. No one's ever won a championship because this is the first year. Alexander Voss versus Florian Weaver. Actually, these were two drivers who we were expecting to really be battling for the front of the field here, Jimmy. Pure Racing Team number 12 car, Florian Weaver currently in P number 12. Core Motorsports Alexander Voss qualified moderately disappointingly, but has moved up 7 places so far in this motor race. So that's actually a good start overall if he wants to get himself possibly a top 5 finish here.
Yeah, a good start, but it does seem that the Chargers sort of come to a halt behind the Pure Racing Team car. He just can't seem to find a way past. We see him at the moment sort of just showing his nose to the Pure Racing Team car in front of him, saying, I am here, make sure you don't discount me in any sort of situation. But it seems he's having real trouble actually finding a place to get close enough to make that overtake or even make an attempt of an overtake, which is why we're seeing these cars starting to bunch up. We're seeing the Radical car behind as well. Of course, Gregor Hutu in the mix, and the Evo Racing Australia car, and of course Sim Racing. So this is actually holding up this entire group here, I think, this sort of fight at the start. So either we're going to see the Pure Racing Team concede a position, I think, or we're going to end up seeing the Pure Motorsport car take position from the Pure Racing Team, or we're going to see more cars come to the back of this train and end up having a ridiculous looking fight for what is at the moment 12th place.
We just saw there the Frostmaster Movano red car, number 21 machine, almost putting it into a tyre barrier as he held on, but he is now down 2 places from where he was a couple of moments ago. And well, Jimmy, it seems to me that these Audis can be very twitchy for the first part of sector number 2.
Yeah, it can be that way. I've noticed that as well. You seem to see the BMWs doing a lot more work actually through the middle sector, and being able to pull up behind the Audis. It may just be the setup that works best for the Audis around here. I've seen a lot of people on quite a low setup, quite a low wing setting, and of course when you're going through corners like Pouhon, the car's going to try and break away from you, and where the BMW seems to be set up a little bit differently, or for most teams anyway, they seem to be just progressing up the field a little bit easier than those Audis are, especially going through that middle sector.
We need to keep an eye out on Coanda Sim Sports number 18 machine. We are worried about them and their incident limit as they just push wide there again on the exit of Ranion. Team Redline Blue are currently in 2nd place, and of course this is one of those famous battles, Randy. Coanda versus Team Redline. Lenderman of course doesn't run in the World Championship Series. Ollie Packler does. Of course he also runs on his Oculus Rift. Been doing so for the last couple of months now. But Ollie Packler has a chance of winning this motor race, and what he needs to do now is put the pressure on. Big time.
Yeah, I mean, the big battles between Coanda and Redline obviously is big in that World Championship Grand Prix series. We've never really seen it, though, on the endurance stage. We've seen it a couple times here at Monza and, of course, at Silverstone. However, we've never seen it in a big 6-hour race like this, and we know from experience you can't let Coanda get control in these endurance events. They tend to run away with it. They've done it in the GT3 cars. They've done it in prototypes. Right now, these cars of Redline, these guys of Vinix, they're obviously very experienced as well. They know they have to do something about this. If Coanda's allowed to run away with this, well, Coanda, they don't have like really a weak link, excuse me if I could speak, in their team. Who gets into the car after Lenderman? Maybe it's Renz Broekman, maybe it's Klaus Givikas, maybe it's Jorn Jens. That's a very well-rounded team, and I have to say, I think just with the gap they have in these early stages, it'll be very, very difficult for the teams of Redline and Inix to reel them in, simply based on how consistent Coanda normally is.
Indeed. Right now, Alexia Loma, he's been up as high as P number 6 in this event. He's running in P number 7 right now. Iberica Racing Bank just behind them. Nestor Garcia Jr. Jr. so far in this event, up 5 places. Last lap time, 2:20.5. Fastest lap is about a second slower. We have got to ask that question as we get ourselves closer to pit stops, though, Jake. Has the whole thing from Coanda last time out at Silverstone, is that the new thing? Are we going to see double stinting tyres? Treble stinting tyres?
it's going to be difficult to see whether it's going to work or not, especially around a circuit like this where you're incredibly heavy on the tyres through high-speed corners, and even in low-speed corners you're still using up quite a bit of grip. I don't think we're going to see it as often as maybe that we'd like to. I think that's going to be the ideology that everyone's going to go in to try and do, but I think at the end of the day, I think it's not going to be something that everyone can do. Different cars have different abilities on their tyres, and different drivers have it as well. So it's going to be a difficult one to call here, Will, but I'm going to stay on the safe side and say, no, we're probably not going to see it as much as we first thought.
Of course, we're now on board with the driver who a couple of laps ago lost himself 2 positions. That's Mario Bertolotti there in the number 21 machine versus Matt Backham in the number 16 machine. Backham is now into the top 10 in this motor race. So a very good start to the race for that number 16 driver. Backham's done everything that's been asked of him so far, up 9 places overall. And, well, Jimmy, this is Matt Backham at his very, very best.
He's making very good progress at this point. Like I said, 9 places, that is well, pretty much double his position now. He's currently sitting in 9th, and he's looking fighty as well. He's right up behind the Iberica Racing and the Glacier Racing car with Alexei Loma, who we spoke about just now. And he's just pulling up to the back of them. So I think before long we're going to see Bachmann maybe have another go, and maybe end up taking 8th or maybe 7th place away. After that is a bit of a gap to the Pure Racing Team 71, but at this rate, I mean, we've still got over 5 hours to go. This is fantastic progress.
And it's worth noting as well that, Jimmy, so far your top 10 are separated by 17.7 seconds. But I want to have a look at P number 11 through P number 20. They are separated, I'm doing my math here on the fly, by 12 seconds. That's very, very close in your mid-pack right now.
It is. I mean, and if you sort of move that a little bit to, let's say, let's go from 7th place down to, let's go down to 19th place. That's 12 seconds there, and so yeah. they are so close right now, especially sort of mid-pack. You've got a couple of cars in between, like 2 seconds of each other. That's 12th down to 17th. That's headed at the moment by the Odox car at the moment. Sorry, no, I'm lying. It's a Pure Racing car with Florian Voigt in the car as well. And behind him is the 33 car of the Core Motorsports. He seems to be coming back okay. I seem to remember them dropping back a little bit at the start of the race. Seem to be coming back through now. Their qualifying wasn't too hot from memory. They were down in 20th place at the start, or around that sort of area, up to 13th, so making good progress.
Yeah. Just to let you know, by the way, if you like Spa, we've got so much more Spa to come over the next month or so, because, well, we're going to have ourselves the opportunity to come back here and do 24 hours. That's going to be on August 6th and 7th here on Racespot TV on iRacing Live. We're hoping to get the guys back from V8 Online and the Global Sim Racing channel to work to make it another fantastic 24-hour event. Of course, Spa is where it all started. For multi-class 24-hour racing on iRacing, we were the first, and of course we're going to be a part of what will be a fantastic couple of weeks on iRacing. So much more racing to come up. Well, you got yourself the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, you got yourself the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing, you got ourselves Racesport TV Prime Time, all our fantastic league races, and I have something, well, there is something coming up in a couple of weeks' time that will knock your socks off. That is all I'm allowed to say. Otherwise, I'm going to get in serious trouble. But, have a look then. P number 8.
New sock model confirmed.
Yes, that is it. New sock model. Having a look then down in your field. And it seems to me that we've got that little bit of branching out going now. So people are not really passing anyone anymore. Alexander Voss was the front end with. That one does, however, continue as we go back on board with that driver of Alexander Voss in the Core Motorsports car, Jake.
Yes, and Alexander Voss, I think, is playing a very clever game. He's been behind for about 10-15 minutes. Doesn't have to make the move on Pure Racing Team 12, but is in a position where he can just stay, wait behind. Because if you're there behind, you're actually saving fuel. You can lift off a little bit. You're using less power on your throttle by staying in the slipstream, by keeping at the same speed with using the punch in the air. And actually, you might make a move. He gets very close on the run into Blancpain, but no. Alexander Voss will stay behind in that Core Motorsports car, trying to get past Pure Racing Team 12, second of the Pure Racing cars at the moment in this motor race, but heads into the final chicane, looks to start his 21st lap of the race. Nope, not quite close enough there, Will.
They will stay where they are for the moment. But this is what we've been talking about, really. It's our big talking point of the day. Have a look at all of these cars just cycling through. That is your mid-pack here, and it's very, very close. Yeah, you got yourself a 4-second gap, but then you've got yourself a load more of them. And this is going to be a fantastic shot, ladies and gentlemen. Let's listen to some of these cars come up the hill. Well, Randy, we're looking at about 16, 17 minutes remaining in this stint. What we're looking to see them come in is about 4:55 remaining on the play clock.
Yeah, it's going to be somewhere in that ballpark. We know they can hit the hour mark here, and usually they can go 5 to 7 minutes or so over the hour. Relatively comfortable in these cars here at Spa. It might be a little bit more than that, but that's kind of my ballpark estimate right now. What'll be interesting about that is obviously the longer you go, that brings more into the plays. Maybe you do that shorter double tire stint like what Coanda did at Silverstone. They obviously on that final stint only ran a 40-minute stint. If you can get yourself an extra 10 minutes, run to the hour and 10-minute mark, you can conceivably save tires twice, do it a short stint from 2 hours 20 to 3, and then do another one from 5 hours 20 to 6. So it's going to be really, really interesting here to see what happens. As right now we're getting maybe a bit of politics happening within the NX guys. Yep,
NX Racing blue, NX Racing red. Well, they're running pretty much 3-4-5 right now, as you can see. Well, Jimmy, it looks as though maybe Yoni is going to be given a free pass potentially a little bit soon.
It may be. I mean, just on lap time alone, he was about half a second or nearly a second quicker than Dave Galink in front of him in the other NX car. So it sort of makes sense from the team point of view to let them by. So we'll see if that happens, I guess, at this point. But I can't see why it wouldn't. If I were the team boss, I'd be saying get Yoni through, let him have a stab at trying to catch the red line car in second.
Yeah, you know what?
The other NX cars, they haven't run bad, though. All these cars have been representing well within the top 5, 6, 7 positions. I would say all these cars, in terms of the championship, are in similar points. I don't see why you would try to play politics, but I think you're right. Like NX Racing Red, that last time, both last lap, they were half a second quicker. The lap before that, NX Racing Red was a second quicker than both cars in front. I'm not sure what's going on here.
Catching is one thing, passing is another. There's a little dab on the brakes. There's one of them. You saw the dab on the brakes there. Dave Geeling saying, you know what, time's yours, you go past. So, whether that is a team order, or whether that's just Geeling being nice, we don't quite know. And I'm trying to think back, because of course we've seen so many racing series here, Randy, and we know for a fact that Redline and Coanda refuse to do team orders. But, we don't know, I can't remember about Inex, to be honest. I don't remember if they do team orders or not.
I'm actually not sure either. I don't think it's ever really come up. I know that one time Redline at Suzuka, I believe it was, I think Ali Pakala let Gregor Hutu take a position, but that was on his own volition because Gregor was fighting, I believe, with Martin Kroenke for the championship. Here, like I said, I'm not sure quite what NX is doing here, if that's what is happening. All three of these cars have run strong within the top 10. All of these cars, you know, it is only the third round of what is now a 6-round championship, and it really, I mean, it's the early goings here. I don't see why you would let someone buy now. I mean, if one of these cars was lapped down, surely, yeah, let your teammate buy if he's running for a strong position and you had an early incident. Here, you're running 3rd, 4th, 5th place. All their pace is relatively similar. I'm not sure why you would do this.
Yeah, I completely agree. But what their argument might well be is, well, at this stage of the race, you know, you've got more to gain, potentially, if you are the lead car and you can pull away in terms of momentum heading yourself down into your second stint. We're going to ride on board then, again, with Yoni Tamara. Is he going to get the same treatment from PJ Sturgis? I'll tell you one thing, though. PJ Sturgis is not the type of person just say, have a position. PJ say, yeah, you can have the position. Race for it. They can see them. They exit now the bus stop chicane, heading themselves down towards La Source once again. If you're going to see this happen, it will likely happen the same way we saw it last time, on the exit of the Kemmel straightaway. So, you can see that. Yoni Tamada, it does look fantastic under braking right now, as they work themselves now. And it is also worth noting that we have got ourselves, in all circumstances, 3 Mercedes. So it's not the sort of thing where we're going to have ourselves potential to say, okay, but maybe one of the other cars will be faster later on in the season. We don't yet know that one. Let's go back on board. Are we going to see the little double tap of the brakes? Are we going to see potentially a move here? Well, it looks to be. Yeah, we're going to see it here. PJ Sturgis just letting him pass. So, Yoni Tamada up now into 3rd place. Again, we don't know whether or not there's team orders. It did look as though PJ just said, you know what, position's yours, off you go. But I do have to confirm there that Randy, he did look fantastic through last source compared to his teammates.
Oh, he certainly did, but the thing is, just looking at PJ's times, even compared to Yoni's, up until a couple laps ago, PJ was just as fast, if not faster than Yoni was. It wasn't until Yoni really got to him that both him and Dave Geelink really slowed down. I have to think that there's a little bit of politics here. Maybe now Yoni Tamala can really pull away, and we'll see. Maybe he is that much faster, but still, it just seems very, very odd given the situation and the circumstances for all three cars in their place in the championship right now.
I can also see why this is happening as well, because you've got to look back to, say, 2002, and although it's a disgraced incident between the two Ferraris at Austria, Schumacher was fighting for a championship, and he said, well, you know, Barrichello let through Michael Schumacher, and well, I think Inex are doing the same thing. You look at Inex Racing Red, they're fighting for the championship, they've been up there in the top two, heading into the final lap of both races this season, and they could be in a great position to take a championship. They need to score points as quickly and as effectively as they can, and I think they need to release Inex Racing Red right now as possibly their #1 car in the #1 outlet, just to push themselves through. It might be early on in the race, but they need to get as much of an opportunity for Joni Tamala behind the wheel to push and get through.
I'm going to give yourself a different perspective. Fuel levels, potentially. Tyres. Are they going to spread the strategy here? You know, you might just say to Tamala, you do the standard strategy. And then they might say to either PJ or Dave, why don't one of you try to see what Kalana did last time? Will it work for you? I think that's one thing here. It might be more than meets the eye. You know, if you've got three people on different strategies, there's not always a point in fighting with each other. It's worth noting that. Sometimes common sense has to come down to it. So yeah, Yoni Tamala was lapping faster, but maybe, just maybe, one of these Inex Racing drivers were thinking about trying to get to the actual magic marker. A 1 hour, 12 minute stint. Now, it's going to be very hard to do so. If you do that, you're in happy territories. Matt Backham, P number 9, P number 10, Mario, they are scrapping right now. But also, down in your pack, you've got yourself this three-way battle. And Gregor Hutu, from nowhere, is up a load more positions. Blink, and you miss it, just as I expected. We're into Hutu territory right now, Jimmy.
Yeah, I just noticed from the way past a car coming out of the pit, so maybe someone coming in early or having a bad issue on fuel there, but this is the thing with Gregor Hutu, you know, it's someone you can never ever discount from any sort of motorsport race. At any point you can see him maybe just sit down and sort of take 15th for a while and think, you know what, I'm gonna go now, and then he'll start pushing and start working the car a bit more fluidly, and then start making up positions. So I wonder now if it's just he's been saving fuel and just sitting down and sort of having a very calculated response, but at the moment he seems to be doing a good job of things, so we'll see if he progresses any further.
Well, Flame Wheatley's on pit road right now, and this is actually a little bit early. Yes, they can do 65-minute stints if they want to, and they need to, but actually coming in this early can be a little bit dangerous, especially if strategy doesn't go your way a little bit later on in the day. Let's
or if you come out in traffic.
Yes, particularly. Let's try and get this one right for once, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? We're on board with the number 24 machine, the Core Sim Racing machine. Got it. No, number 24 machine. We did it. Confetti, everyone. Right behind, that is Benjamin Smith in the Evolution Racing Australia car. Battle for P15, P16 there. Randy.
Yeah, they're scrapping out pretty hard here. I mean, Frederick Rasmussen, he's noted for being very aggressive, a very talented young driver that I think in the coming years will be a huge factor in the sim racing world here. He really is one of the big representations here on Core Sim Racing, a very established team, a very esteemed team. They're just trying to reel in that car in front of Evolution Racing Australia, and I'm sure they're eyeballing the Radicals car in front, as well as Hutu in that red line black car.
Yeah, so far only a few people have been on pit road. Let's have a look, cycle through them. We've just saw Florian Weath now coming out of pit road, and this is an indication of the kind of pit stop times. 1 minute 2 there for Florian Weath, and you can see actually that is your race leader, Marcus Lenderman, right behind him right now. There is Lenderman in the same camera shot, just getting himself past Buttercup, and everyone loves a good Buttercup here. They can see Leighton Fine in Buttercup, Mad Cow Bessie. Mad Cow Racing Buttercup, not Mad Cow Racing Bessie. They're two completely different teams. We know that. 53-second pit stop there for Leighton Fine in Buttercup. And it also broke away late. Then we've got Maximilian Beneke, of course, has made a pit stop because he earlier on had to do a penalty as well. So he's on a different strategy right now. Worth thinking about that one. And then also, Virgin Racing Yellow have been on pit road. 1 minute 2 pit stop for them. Martin Fitzpatrick in the Trayton Racing team. And then obviously we know that we've got another driver back on track, but, well, 36. P number 1 to P number 36 there for Dark Contigo after Jesus Cecilia had himself an incident on the exit of Stavolo 2. And that is our biggest talking point of the day so far. From the race lead, Jesus Cecilia bins that race car and now is pretty much classified as out of the race. Utterly beautiful there is what the people's talking about Buttercup, Jake.
Oh yeah, definitely, and well, you have to say Buttercup maybe a lap down at the moment, have had their issues so far this race, but they are in a position where if a couple of cars have an incident, they can pull themselves back in, and I will not be surprised here, Will, if come the end of the race, they put themselves up inside the top 20 just on attrition factor alone. Leighton Fine, they're doing a great job behind the wheel of Buttercup, might be a lap down, but if you can follow the race leader for what is a couple of laps, you'll be in a great position just to say, I can do exactly what I want, I can just stay calm, stay behind, and well, certainly it's going to be very interesting, especially after that first lap penalty.
Got a nice sort of battle going on from the rear part of your top, the front part of the second half of your top 20. That's what I mean. P number 21 backwards.
The first half of the second half.
That's what we mean. Gecko Vortex Sim Racing red there. Martin Van Hove. Poor qualifying for Vortex here today. Behind them, of course, they got Christian Kintanewski in the Iberica Racing Interactive 4, number 86 machine. Behind them as well, you've got Pepo de la Harris and Matt Boozer. Two very well-known names, of course, in sim racing. There is Pepo de la Harris in the Iberica Racing Asylum car, and Gale Force Sim Racing, Matt Boozer running in P number 24. And am I right in thinking that is your race leader around all of... No, it's not. It's the other. It's the other one. Why do you have the same livery, Commander? Commander, of course, has scored many laps down due to a penalty at the start of this murder race there, Jake.
Yes, they are. A couple of cars coming in then from, what is that group? Matt Booster for Gale Force Sim Racing will come in, number 83. And also Martin Van Hove there in that 04 Gecko Vortex Sim Racing red car. Both of them will classify themselves onto pit lane to get them stopped. And it is difficult when you get a penalty and you start 2 laps down. You start losing faith, and all you've got to do is just keep going, keep plugging away until the problem resolves itself, until time gets in. But the advantage of having a 6-hour race compared to a 3-hour race, you got double the time to make up the same amount of positions, and that is the only factor which I think will be staying in David Williams' mind here as he heads himself down the Kemmel Straight behind Pepo de la Harris of the Iberica Racing Sailing team.
Race lead, though, last time by, Ollie Pakula closed the gap by 3 tenths of a second over Koana Sim Sports as we are about to round out our first hour here. And that is going to be our talking point for hour number 2 of this motor race, because of your top 5 drivers, 6 drivers, no, top 5 drivers, Koana Sim Sports Marcus Lenderman was the slowest that last time by. Something to think about. So welcome then to the second hour of coverage here on Racebot TV and on iRacing Live of the 6 Hours of Spa as a part of the 3rd World Championship Series on iRacing. It is the GT World Endurance Championship, the GT Series as well. We just talked about it. Ollie Pakula is now lapping faster than Marcus Lenderman. Yonu Tamana is lapping faster than Marcus Lenderman. PJ Sturgis, Dave Geelick are all lapping faster than Marcus Lenderman. Last time by, the fastest driver was this guy. It was Yoni Tamana in the number 1 machine. So we talked about, at the start of this event, Heza Cecilia pulled away in the Del Contigo Racing team. Then he binned it down at Stavolo 2. He's now down in P number 36. Yeah, they got that car going. But for all intents and purposes, he is out of this motor race. Last time by, a 220.5 for Marcus Lenderman. It was a 220.0 for Ollie Pakula. A 219.9 for Yoni Tamada. Officially, it is game on. Will Vinton along with Jimmy B, with Randy Chenoweth, and also with Jake Sperry. Hour 2 is on, it is up, it is running. And Jimmy, oh yeah, we've got a huge race on our hands now.
We haven't. Having the front 4 cars separated by, well, I guess front 5 cars in terms of lap time, separated by about 2 or 3 tenths of a second over the course of this 2 minute and 20 odd average lap time lap is it's ridiculous in my mind. This is why you're seeing the best of the best. You're seeing the pros right now on iRacing, really showing you how it is done. And it's a bit of a treat really for me as a driver myself to see these cars and this track combination driven so well and so competently. And we've only seen a couple of incidents. Obviously, Jesus Cilia at the start of the or midway through the first hour of the race, having his big incident which took him out of a lead. I must say before also, Will, I actually broadcast a race a while ago. I remember him seeing him go off in the same place. So actually a bit of a Stavlo 2 there, or Stavlo 1. There's a bit of a black spot for him, it seems.
It does seem to be that, as we just saw Commander Simsports get himself past one of the madcap. Actually, no, that Buttercup car, Randy, has been on pace for Marcus Lederman in the past 3 laps. He's not just got past, Buttercup is hanging with Commander. This is fantastic stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. At one point, we were talking about the Buttercup car. Is that they had that early penalty because of that. They go that lap down, but he's just been there cruising with Marcus Lenderman ever since he got by. He of course let Lenderman by, and actually Lenderman is gonna come down pit road. So here comes our strategy talk right now. I believe we see Redline staying out. Let's see what does NX do. Yoner Tamala here comes in. PJ Sturgio stays out. Dave Geeling stays out. So what's happening here in terms of fuel loads? Is this them running a little bit lighter, or maybe just PJ and the other NX car of Dave Geeling, are they just getting better fuel economy as right now? But just talking about that Buttercup car a little bit more, they have I believe they might be able to have themselves a really big recovery drive here. We've been talking about that 73 and how they've been having a good recovery drive and the pace that Maximilian Benacke has been showing. Well, Leighton Fine of that Mad Cow Racing Buttercup, sorry to say it, Pure Racing Team and Max Benacke, he's faster than you.
He is. Coanda, I don't know if they're coasting here. They might be very close to being out of fuel. I think they are coasting right
I find
now.
that hard to believe considering that the NX cars are going around another lap. Normally, even though they're different cars, the fuel usages are very, very close. I'd imagine he has more than enough. It might just be
He's
the
clutching.
downhills.
No, he's clutching. He's clutching. He's coasted into his pit box there.
That's very, very strange then. It'll be interesting to see, though, does Marcus stay in the car or not? I know Marcus is fighting an illness personally. Yes, he is. Who's going to be getting in? Is it going to be Klaus Kivikas, Renz Broekman, or Jorn Jens? And getting into that car right now is Klaus Kivikas, and that's exactly who they need, I think. They need that experience, and they need that powerhouse in the car right now. Yeah,
Klaus Kivikas is on pit road then. He is taken over behind the wheel of that number 18 VOS Commander Simsports car, and Isaac Price has now gotten into that NX Racing red car. So we've got to ask the question all of a sudden here, Jimmy. Is Yono Tamada going to play the role of Alan McNish to the start, to the end, and have other people run the middle? Isaac Price is fantastic, but I don't know if he's got the raw pace that Yono Tamada had in that first stint.
I always think of Alan McNish as the angry terrier, always out there to sort of put pressure on people and put in those fast laps when needed. But this is the thing about endurance racing, is that each driver brings certain characteristics to the car. What I'm interested to see is where we had Coanda, so you said, clutching into the pits, maybe due to the lack of fuel. If that slow pit stop is going to actually affect their position, because they weren't too far ahead of the Team Red Line Blue car. We're talking about 2.5 seconds when the pit stop came in. And now here they come. In they come, yeah. So now we're going to find out whether or not the Coanda car will take the lead back or take the position back from the Red Line car.
And both in X follow.
Right, so this is the situation. Ollie Packard is now on pit road. PJ Sturgis on pit road. Dave Geeling's on pit road. That was a stint time of 1 hour and 6 minutes for those drivers, including, don't forget, it was a very short pace lap here. The pace lap was only about 40 seconds long because of the fact they start the cars just on the entrance onto Blancpain. So Team Redline Blue, Ollie Packler is on pit road. It's worth noting then, we'll keep an eye on the outlap times. That's going to be the important thing in this battle. But it's worth noting that Mario Blatotti now is in the lead of this motor race. We've got a load of people on pit road. It's pit stop city time here, as Alexei just working himself now through that little gap. Dave Geeling's on pit road. We talked about Sylvian is on pit road. You've got Frederick Rasmussen on pit road. Dennis Goboski on pit road. So you want to think, Jake? Take it away.
Oh, well, you can see everyone there trying to get on pit road, but it's going to be very interesting to see how these cars are going to work out when they get out. It's all about getting up to speed on that outlap. You can see Klaus Kavekas right now. He's doing a fantastic job, so it'll be interesting to see what happens if we say look at what is going to be the car of Red Line Blue here in the pit stop. Packler, I believe, still in the car. William Levesque will come into the NX Racing yellow car. You look at NX Racing Blue, Dave Geeling still behind the wheel, so that will certainly make sure some interesting things. Pomerady there just pulls into his pit box right now, and well, it's certainly going to be interesting to see just how everyone's going to go. Of course, there's a really long extended pit stop here, Will, because you've got that really long gap. You've got to go through that GP pits, turn it right into La Source. Don't get out that exit. Get yourself into what is that endurance pit stop, and then head itself out through Eau Rouge. Coming and then into the final chicane is Klaus Kvecker. So all eyes on the clocks, all eyes on the getaways to see how exactly that red line blue car is going to do, Will.
And don't forget, even if Kvyat, of course, ends up being behind, don't forget that they can will straight away because of how fast it is. He may still be a pass. That is one thing worth noting. Olli Pakala is still in his box. Let's have a look then. They should be coming out right about now. So they are coming out right about now.
Gone.
Coanda is past. So that's easy for Coanda. Let's have a look at the driver of Olli Pakala. He is double stinting that one. But it does look as though that William the Vec, hello, he's moved himself up. He's jumped himself up there with a 2.5 faster pit stop compared to Olli Pakala. So Pakala lost a little bit out there in that sequence of pit stops. So as it stands right now, Pakala's fallen down just a little bit. But William the Vec is behind Isaac Price. Of course, Pakala is behind in the first place. I don't know what I'm talking about. But William the Vec then is behind Isaac Price. 0.7 of a second. It looks as though he's come out line and stern. But Kvyat there is an interesting one because they seem to have had a slower pit stop, but Kvyat has just had a fantastic outlap potentially, Randy.
Yeah, absolutely, but I'm not sure why they would have had a shorter stop here. The thing to note is that part of the reason I don't think they would have been out of fuel coasting there is the fact that so many other cars went that extra lap. I think what Marcus Linderman was doing there was minimizing the amount of fuel he actually used in the pit lane and thus shortening the amount of time he would have spent filling that car up on gas. Every single 1/10 of a second counts here, and I just find it hard to believe that Coanda would miss the fuel mark that bad that Marcus would have been running out of fuel at that point, especially when other cars went an extra lap or two. I think right there that was just Marcus just clutching to save as much gas as possible in that pit lane to minimize the pit stop time. The other thing to think about here, obviously, because Coanda pit a lap earlier, they should have had a shorter stop here. That should have enabled them to stretch out this gap, which is exactly what we've seen happen.
Well, but they didn't have a shorter pit stop. Their pit stop was 67.7 seconds. So it's interesting trying to figure out. It will settle down over time. We want to try and get a look at the outlaps. We didn't, unfortunately, get one for Klaus Kvyat. We have no real terms of reference. Fabio Gonzalez now behind the wheel of their number 21 machine. Marco Mogren currently leads this motor race. And I will say one thing. He's hit that magic number I talked about. Friction Racing Bandits have hit that magic number here. And this is critically important. Yes, they are well down on the field right now in terms of comparative pace, potentially. But they have hit the number where they should be able to save themselves a pit stop over the source of this race. I said, you need to get yourself to a 1 hour, 12 minute stint in order for it to work. And well, all of a sudden, we have one who's biting the bullet, and that is going to be the number 69 team. We're going to have to see how this feeds out at the end of this motor race, Randy, because this is something worth thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. They are, I think at this point, 1 lap short. Right now, I'm showing 4 hours and 50 minutes on the play clock. Obviously, 1 hour and 12 will put him at 4:48. However, it'll probably be about another minute until he gets around to the point where the pit lane is. And on top of that, it is a couple minutes here that you spend on the pit road. So he should be over that 4:48 mark pretty comfortably here. It'll be interesting to see here what Marco Mogren and the rest of these Friction Racing Bandits guys can do. If they can stretch this, I mean, just a trip down the pit lane here is roughly a minute and a half just driving through. If they can make this work, it would be absolutely incredible, and it'd be a bigger theft than what Coanda's pulled off at Silverstone.
Yeah, I said had to keep an eye on it, and we've got one team doing it. So Marco Mogren then leads this motor race. We're just having a look on board of William the Vec. It does seem to be that Isaac Price, William the Vec are pretty much static on lap times right now, Jay. We're running on board with Levesque. Of course, he's gotten into that number 11 machine. Isaac Price has gotten in to that number 1 machine. So they look as though they're comparative between the two of them. We've got to see what they're like comparative to Klaus Kvyat. And it looks as though they are...
Friction stays out again.
Oh my word! What have they put into that race car? I mean, Jake, what have they put into that race car?
Fairy dust, apparently, because they have found a tank which will not empty itself. Marco Mogren will stay out for the Friction Racing Bandits. They will try and go the uber long stint the uber long stint that we haven't seen in a long time, and it's actually very interesting to see that they've been very good. Well, traditionally, you have to say the BMW has been the car that has been very good on its fuel in what was all the racing. Of course, you've got to say that it was Klaus Kavekis who did, Klaus Kavekis' team, VRS Coanda Simsport 18, that did the long stint last time and reinvented the wheel. But you have to say right now, Friction Racing Bandits trying to take a leaf out of their book, trying to go uber long into this race, and I just think that it might work out in the long run, because if they can do 4 lots of that, they can cut out that 1 pit stop and cut out 2 minutes of time.
Yeah, and I was just trying to work out how long it will take to do a pit stop around here. We know it's about 47 seconds on pit road. Why do we know that? It's because we saw someone do drive-through penalties earlier on in the motor race. Just trying to show you that a replay. Antipajala being passed in the number 42 Glacier racing car. You're looking at, when you put it all together, you're looking at about 2 minutes. So 70 seconds. Add that on, it's about 2 minutes, give or take. So realistically, right now, they're 26 seconds ahead of Klaus Kivikas, but of course, they are currently running 4 seconds a lap slower than Klaus Kivikas. This wouldn't necessarily give them the win here, Jimmy. What it will do is it will elevate them high up into the top 10 on a strategy which I think is absolutely fantastic, because they started right at the rear of this field. Let's not forget that one.
No, it really reminds me a lot of the sort of, the Force India or Sauber strategy back when Sauber were actually a team back in the day, where they would just they'll fuel the car up, send it out on the one stop. They'd be slower over the course of the lap, but they would save that time in the pit stop. And this is what these guys are doing here. I mean, their last lap was a 2:22.4, nothing really to write home about. But they've been out here now, and I've got them on their 31st lap, which is ridiculous. It's far longer than anyone else I've seen out there so far. So they can just eke out as much fuel as possible, do this as many times as possible during the race. They're going to save time in the fuel in the pit side with fueling. Are they coming in now? They're staying out another lap. What is in that machine?
You know what? I think it's going to be the livery on that car. I mean, it's got all the little stripes. They just obviously like camouflaging the fuel away somewhere. Can someone go and check the fuel tank on that thing, please? Because that is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Now, to talk about the battle for it is at the moment, P2, 3, 4. Klaus Kivikas last time by was about a tenth and a half faster than the Inex Racing Red team of Isaac Price. Now, Isaac Price was a tenth and a half seconds slower than William Levesque. Are we going to see a return favour here, Jimmy? Because it looks as though, all of a sudden, Levesque is faster than Price. But the red car got past the yellow car earlier on. Because of friendliness, team orders, we don't know.
Well, I think it would make sense, really. It's easy just to... You don't want to be running too close behind someone. You can very easily sort of, snatch the brake pedal, end up going to the back of the car in front of them. And if it's your teammate, you don't want to be doing that, especially if you're running close. So I think the idea to sort of chop and change isn't a bad one whatsoever, especially if they're doing it here on the Camel Straight, where you can just get off the throttle for a second, lose minimal time, maybe about 4 or 5 tenths at the most, and then let the car behind you, your teammate, sort of just get on with it and then maybe blaze the trail through. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see that favour repaid.
And to turn our attention back to Macro Mogul, we're not saying he's going to win the motor race at this stage, Jake. What we are saying is because his qualifying was so bad, I'm not sure if I heard a stutter there. No, I didn't. But because of the fact that his qualifying was so bad, he started at the rear of the field, this is hopefully potentially going to get him a top 10. That's what he's looking for. He's not looking for the victory with this strategy, but he's done an hour 15 minutes on a tank of gas here.
Yes, he has, and what has to be remembered here is they're in a position where they're really pushing the car, they're really trying to get it to its limits, but they are running 222s at the moment, where you look at the leaders, say look back at VRS Coanda, they're doing times like 219 flats. You look even behind that, Isaac Price 219.1. He is 3-4 seconds off the pace per lap, but he's not fighting for the race win. It's not going to result in a race win if he's going to be 3-4 seconds off the pace. He's looking to try and get that gap where there is another 20 seconds, looking around Pure Racing Team, looking around Radicals Online Steel Series. He will finally come into the pit lane, Marco Mogren, with the stint of the day so far, and we'll see what he can do in the next few stints. But I think that's genius from Friction Racing Bandits. Outside the box thinking, outside the box working.
Also,
And
something else to think about, sorry to cut in here, but the fact that he went an hour and 16 minutes on that tank, that'll mean for these other stints, they won't have to hit an hour and 12 minutes exactly. That means they can race a bit more aggressively. They won't have to save fuel quite so hard. Yeah, if they end up a little bit short, maybe they only do an hour and 10 minutes, guess what? They're still okay, because Marco Mogren just put in a complete monster of a stint, and when you factor in the pit stop time, that he put them 3, 4, 5 minutes over that hour and 12 minute window. I think Friction Racing Bandits here, I honestly think if their pace picks up on this next stint, they might just be a shoo-in to be able to steal this race away.
yeah, so I've got a feeling that we're looking at somewhere within the top 10 for them. So the question will be, first of all, will Marco Mogren stay in that car? Because it's almost not worth talking about this if he's just going to get out of the car, someone's going to come in and blitz laps all of a sudden. And it does look as though, indeed, he will stay in that car for the time being. Here's a nice little shot then from up above. This is on the exit of La Source, of course, that run down towards Eau Rouge. You can see he stays in that car. So he is falling down the field. He's falling way down the field once again. But it will come back to him later on in this motor race because of the fact that essentially what he's doing is he's punching himself a 2-minute free window a little bit later on. So that is going to be a really, really good. Apparently some people are thinking that he may have spent on pit entry. We're not quite sure whether he did. No, we think he was fine. And we're going to say, would have been good for his sponsors. There's not a single sponsor on that car. We're giving them all this airtime right now. Someone go and sponsor Friction Racing, this Bandits car, please, because I think they might need it right now. He's going to come out and away in a couple of moments' time. 107, 108, 109, 109.7 then. Back out and away. And that is what we like to call filled up to the absolute brim. And when you put all the time that he's on pit road as well, that first stint completed in 1 hour and 18 minutes. Fantastic. But out front, here's the story. We got ourselves 2 INX Racing cars. I was going to talk about the fact that realistically, Jake, they could have switched positions. There's a bit of a stickier situation because you've got a Redline car there. So if you let one go past, Ollie Packer might say, thank you very much, go down to the inside and he'll take the position away. You don't want to do that. So for the time being, I think you might have to play it safe if you're those 2 INX Racing drivers.
Yeah, well, last time by, you had to say Ollie Packler was the quickest guy of the lot. You could say for all of INX and what they can do, they're in a fantastic position there to say that they can just hound the car into submission. Geelink 219.1, 219.2 that time for Packler, so that's not as quick. 219.1 for Levesque, 219.2 for Isaac Price, so they're all lapping very similar lap times. I think keeping station at the moment is going to be the order of the game. It's all going to be about just staying calm, staying perfected, making sure that everything's going to work for William Levesque, making sure that he's being the blocker, he's trying to do everything here, and well, news coming in, a short stop from the number 73 there, Will.
Just saw a little bit of side-by-side racing. We're going to show you a replay of it. Well, this is Mad Cow Racing, and I think they're going to get past there by the core car. Indeed they are. That is going to be Core Sim Racing. Frederick Rasmussen working himself past good old Buttercup, and well, the Core Sim Racing car.
Big move from Maximilian Benecke. I'm sorry, going into La Source. He made a big dive on the curb surface car of Dennis Grabowski. Almost got on the back from their side-by-side going into Eau Rouge now.
Well, we're on a replay, so we might as well stick it on the replay. This is Maximilian Benecke, number 73 car, who, let's not forget, had a drive-through penalty earlier on. Down to the inside. We'll just say he was trying to avoid the flame, shall we, that was coming out the back of that Macca. But yeah, they stayed side by side for a moment. But Benecke there versus the car of Dennis Grabowski. Grabowski was able to get back ahead there on the outside on the run down into Eau Rouge. Those two continue to battle for position. So then, that is things how they stand. We are now 1 hour 20 minutes into this motor race. We're going to take a quick commercial, ladies and gentlemen, but we'll be back with more after these messages. You're watching RaceSpot TV on iRacing Live. He's typing! He's typing! He's got it! He's got it! It's a new line of code! I'll get my code. Sorry.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
He's typing! He's typing! He's got it! He's got it! It's a new line of code! Okay. Sorry. Welcome back. Here we are, Spa. Almost an hour and a half of this race scored complete. The gang are here. Klaus Kivikas is the thing we're looking at for the time being here, Randy. And well, consistency is what Klaus Kivikas is all about. And it seems to be that he's not particularly lapping faster than NX Racing Red, but he's potentially maintaining the tyres, getting himself ready to double stint them.
Possibly. It'll be interesting to see what happens here, obviously, in the early stages of this stint. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Obviously, at Silverstone, Coanda famously, they double stinted the tires to steal the win. The thing to remember, though, here at Spa is a little bit more abrasive of a surface, a lot more faster, high-speed corners, and it is a longer lap here. The tires really do get abused much more here than they do at Silverstone.
Oh, my word! Oh, my word! I think it's happened. It has happened. It has happened. We talked about this earlier on, and it has come true. Klaus Kivikas is out of this motor race, we think, because of the fact he has had too many incident points. We need to rewind the tape quickly and just show this to you. But as far as we're aware, Klaus Kivikas, let's have a look. I want to have a look from our aerial coverage right here, if we can, into the bus stop chicane. Did he go too far wide? Well, let's try and have a look then. Because it just happened there, and I've got a feeling he ran a little bit too far wide. He's gone off the track, and Klaus Kivikas is out of this motor race. We talked about it, Randy, and we think it's true. He pushed a little bit too far wide there, and I think that is what happened there. I think it just happened there. Klaus Kivikas, because of the fact that teams had too many incident points, I'm not sure. No, we take it back. We take it back. We think there's another issue, a technical issue there for Kivikas and your leaders. Oh my word, it's happened again. We're going to stick with the racing for the time being. We'll get you some updates as quickly as we can. but we've got a feeling it's actually a technical issue. We take back what we said a moment ago for Klaus Kivikas. We take that one back. Jorn Jens has gotten behind the wheel of that car. They pushed it back towards pit road, whatever. Jorn Jens is getting in. But, well, that's the race gone, Jimmy. Completely gone.
Not yet. They're back out on track already.
Yeah, but still, I mean, yes, it's a 6-hour event. But we're going to have a look now at Jorn Jens. He's gotten behind the wheel of that car. But, oh, my word, Jimmy, this is going to be the race of all epic proportions if they haven't managed to get it working. What a day it's been today.
That's such a quick turnaround there to get Jorn Jens in the car and back out on track. Very impressive there by Coanda to have the car back out there already, but it does hand the lead to the Inex red car, and that means we have an Inex 1-2. Could be a 1-2-3 if the Inex blue car can find a way past the Team Redline blue car currently driven by Olli Pakala, but at the moment Inex having a good time out there. I guess that's good for them. I mean, you never want to overtake someone that way, but you're never going to complain about a free position.
1 minute 13. That's the gap now. Jorn Jens is going to have to make up. All of this, drive it nicely, try and do nice stuff, try and preserve the tyres. That's out of the window, one would argue. Jorn Jens has got a lot of work to do. So we did think there for a moment it was a race control issue. It's not a race control issue there, Randy. But my word, Jorn Jens is now really going to have to really fight for this one. Because 1 minute 13 in a field like this, if he does this, this will go down as one of the greatest drives in the history of iRacing, period.
Yeah, this one's going to be really, really insane if they can come back from this. Not quite sure where they're going to be in the field. It's going to basically be at the very, very back, I feel. But the thing to remember here for VRS Coanda, because of this, they will be out there with a full tank of gas and brand new tires. That's going to put them about 20 to 30 minutes off schedule here. They might be able to take advantage of the strategy because of that and make something work for there. I think they'll definitely have the pace to work themselves through this field over the course of this event. Maybe scratch themselves a top 10, maybe a top 5, but surely I don't see them getting themselves to a win just on pace alone. But maybe the fact that they'll be out there on a full tank of gas again, maybe they can make that work.
Well, of course, we all know what happened back at Silverstone. It's going to be worth saying it very quickly. In the event that the events of Silverstone happen once again, we are going to red flag the race. Race control will red flag the race and then get things sorted out, and then we'll go back to caution and we'll restart the race if at all possible. So we don't believe that the incidents of Silverstone struck Coanda because it's only one car that's been affected. But as it stands right now, it is Jorn Jens running himself in P number 32, taking over that car from Klaus Kivikas. And well, there's a secondary issue potentially in play here. Like Klaus Kivikas has only done a very short stint, and of course the fair share rules apply regardless of technical issues, internet connection issues, etc. So actually, Kivikas will have to get back in the car and run himself about another, by my recollection, about another 13, well, so about another 30 minutes is what he needs to do. But Jorn Jens will need to see this lap time, and this is going to be a true indication of how committed Jens is to this course, because, well, Jimmy, if this is a low 18, this could be fantastic. And the fastest lap, really, we've seen in our field here today, it's been a 218.7, I believe, from, actually no, 218.690 compared to Cecilia. If this outlap, well, this first real lap by Jorn Jens is faster, we know that he's going to try and push it.
I mean, regardless of what happens here, we're going to see him carve back through the field, no doubt. I mean, this car was leading. It has the pace to be up the top of the field, and obviously through circumstance, it is now a bit further down. Shame for them. But like I said, we need to see that lap time. We need to see what sort of pace this car has now in the hands of Jorn Jens. And I'm hoping, for the sake of the broadcast, that we see him down in those low 19s, maybe even a high 18, just for the sake of them coming back through the field. But it's still so competitive the way it is. A minute and 10 seconds is a long time to make up.
Well, we're going to get a look at the lap time in a moment. Jorn Jens down in towards the bus stop chicane. There's actually a Coanda car just ahead of him. He doesn't want to deal with all of this traffic though. And well, that first lap time, 2:20.2. Interesting, Randy.
Yeah, that's not what they need, I think, unless they're maybe trying to play a strategy game with fuel here. I mean, it's I don't know, it's going to be tough for them. And not to be tough on Jens, but of the 4 drivers on that team, Jorn is arguably the one you wouldn't want, just because of the fact, we talked about it before, it's not that Jorn is slow, but Rens, Marcus, and Klaus, they just have that extra 2 to 3 tenths or more edge that Jorn doesn't quite have. So Jorn may be jumping into the car, probably a little unprepared, and he's undoubtedly going to be rustled because of that, just because, you know, obviously their effort has been kind of ruined here. It's really going to, I think, put him off the mark here. Jorn is going to have his hands full with this one, I think.
But out front, NX Racing Red with a 0.2 of a second advantage over William Levesque in the NX Racing yellow car. You've got yourself third place is Ollie Packard in the Team Redline blue car. Then running out your P4, you've got Dave Geeling in the NX Racing blue car. The question has been for the last couple of laps whether or not Levesque will try and say, I am faster than you, Isaac, let me pass. But the issue is with the Team Redline car right behind, it's always going to be a tough situation right now. There's so much happening. Jorn Jens has just rated himself up one place. He's got himself past Jonathan Fuller in the number 74 Phoenix Motorsports car. So that's one place gain so far in this one. But it's still a lot of work for Jorn Jens to do if he wants to get himself anywhere near the top 10. We have got other battles going on in track, Jake. We've got ourselves Pure Racing Team number 12, Florian Weath, Ribera Racing Benk, and Nesta Garcia Jr., and of course Antti Pajala in the number 42 Glacier Racing BES car. They are separated by a total of 0.6 of a second.
Yes, they are heading themselves now up through Rouge. Welcome back. I'm here once again after my own little bit of a pit stop, but you can see right now it just runs a little bit wider there, does the car of Antti Pajala's Glacier Racing here. It means that he's not going to get as good a run as he would have liked here against Iberica Racing, but now you're going to see here just how that top speed's going to affect that BMW here of Iberica Racing. Head themselves down into what is this right-left coming up next, and well, you can see right now just exactly how things have gone. Can't get the move yet, Will, but it is going to be a waiting game, and Florian Voigt will just have to sit there rubbing his hands and hope they get into trouble.
Yeah, William Levesque, through certain sectors of this racetrack, get to within 1/10.5 of your race leader, Randy. The question will be asked in the next couple of laps from one to another, is Isaac Price holding William Levesque up?
Well, he's not. It wouldn't just be Levesque he's holding up, because Ollie Pacala is right there, and so is Dave Geeling as well. The situation right now, especially as close as that red line car is, well, team order is going to have to go out the window here. The fact of the matter is, Isaac Price maybe doesn't have the pace that Yoni Tamala did, but at this point, I mean, this is just a four-way scrap right here, and red line really is the odd man out right now. It's going to have to be 3v1 here, and Ollie Pacala is going to have to try to clutch this one out for red line.
He will do. As you're just having a look, there is your top four up on your screen right now. Pretty much nose to tail to tail to tail. They've got themselves a 5-second advantage to Patrick Pichler. They are pulling away from that driver in P number 5. Last time by the NX Racing blue car. Did himself a 219.5, 0.3 of a second faster than the PRT machine, which actually is also our first McLaren in the field here today. We're actually right on board with that McLaren of Patrick Pichler, number 71 machine, crossing the line once again. Pichler last time by only 1/10 of a second slower, but faster than Isaac Price and William Levesque. Worth noting that last time by Isaac Price really did back up your top four a little bit. We're having that look now from the rear of the NX Racing red car on the exit of Radion down the Camel straightaway. And it looks as though they'll stay line astern once again. There's a slow car ahead of them, but this is a mouth-watering prospect right now, because you've got two different things going on at the same time. You've got yourself, Randy, Commander. Are they going to try and find a magic bullet once again? And we've got a 4-horse race in your battle for the race lead. This is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things going on in this race we have to watch. Obviously, the recovery drive of Vera's, Coanda, Simsport. At this point, what do you do if you're Coanda? Do you try to push all out and run the ragged edge and run the risk of getting yourself disqualified on incidents? Or do you just run clean and just work your way through the forward based on pure pace? Obviously, here running in 30th, they're going to be able to probably pass the next 15 to 20 cars or so just on pace, I think, over the next 4 hours of this event. Plus, with the strategy potentially as well, they'll get some positions. I think at this point, if you're Coanda, you need to play it safe. Get yourself a solid top 10 here. The top 4, though, well, they need to just go all out at this point. It's a 1.5 second gap from first to fourth. There's no room there to just let off and save.
Indeed. This is, as it stands right now, then your top 4 separated by 1.3 seconds. They work themselves out of the out of Stavolo. Of course, Stavolo 2 is where we lost Hesa Cecilia in the first hour of this event. But now, working themselves down towards the bus stop chicane. We, ladies and gentlemen, are going to actually ride a lap on board the driver in second place. This is William Levesque, and it's time to give you some Racebook TV fan immersion. There's a lap then for William Levesque, as there's a little bit of lap traffic just ahead of them. Well, there was a minute ago anyway. Matt Backham running himself in P number 7. He's running in no man's land right now. This ongoing battle remains so. Florian Wolf, Nessie Garcia Jr. and Antti Pajala. This one remains for P number 8, 9 and 10 on track, Randy.
Yeah, these guys are fighting hard at the tail end of the top 10. Obviously a competitive group right here. And as well, like you said, Radicals Online Steel Series, they've actually, I think, gotten themselves in a pretty nice position. The cars in front are far enough ahead that Mac doesn't really have to really focus on them or push to catch them. And the cars behind are far enough behind that he doesn't have to really worry about them in his mirrors too much. I think Radicals Online Steel Series, at least in the realm of endurance racing event, they have themselves in a nice, comfortable window here in 7th place.
Yep. Frederick Rasmussen in one of the core cars. Of course, there's two different cores here. This is Core Sim Racing. Frederick Rasmussen versus the Evolution Racing Australia car. They've been battling for a while now, and well, Jake, it seems to be that this is 13th, 14th right now on track, but the lap time's always so consistent.
Red line's up to P2.
As Ollie Picard moves himself up into 2nd place on track. Let's get a second look at that one and explain to you how that happened. Well, now you definitely can't say. And there we are. There's the back end of the pass. We'll go back and we'll show it to you from a little bit earlier on. And we can see as they start by working themselves up the hill. This is the Team Redline blue car. And there you can see there is the NX Racing yellow car just ahead. Looks himself down to the inside. In towards Lecum. Of course, this is one of the biggest passing opportunities on track. They do make the slightest bit of contact. Nothing worth really writing home about. Then you can see the NX car. They almost make contact the second time. As we'll just turn our camera over there. A little bit wide on the curbs for the NX Racing yellow car, but it's okay. Ollie Picard will move himself now up into 2nd place. Question time is, Jake, is he now hunting down Isaac Price? And if so, how quickly will he do it?
Well, it's going to be very interesting to see what Ollie Picard can do. There, Ollie Packer with a 2:19.5 last time by, compare that to the 2:19.8 of Isaac Price, and compare that to the 2:19.8 of William Levesque. Look as they come across the line once again. Let's see what Ollie Packer has done. 2:20.1 Compare that to a 2:19.8. The gap is now a second, Will, and 1 second can very easily be caught around a circuit like Spa-Francorchamps. I think it's going to close up sooner than you think, depending on how much of a terrier Isaac Price can be, and you certainly know that he's going to scrap and he is going to claw and try and hold on to this first place position as long as he possibly can.
Indeed so. Indeed so. As you're just saying, been riding on board with Ollie Packard, but of course, let's not forget last time by, he had a little bit of passing to do as well. That's not a battle going on. This is a nice 4-car battle going on, Jimmy. P19, 20, 21, 22, starting off with our good friend Buttercup. Behind, you've got Dylan Sharman, as we have a look then at the gap there between the TTL Next Level Racing car and Mad Cow Racing Buttercup. Very close in this 4-way battle. You've got yourself Dylan Sharman versus Antoine Heglin there. Side by side they go for a moment as they round work themselves down to Erouge Radion.
I'm sure Buttercup has got his mirrors full currently of that TTLR Next Level Racing car, that SLS coming up, or sorry, AMG I should say, GT3 coming up behind. They always make that mistake. Look how close he is though, coming through Radion, now right on the back of that Mad Cow car, going to go up the inside, quite easy, quite simple, just pulling past there. I wonder how bad their run was there through there for the Mad Cow car, because look, here comes the JCL car as well. Maybe the Mad Cow car having a little bit of damage there in the straight line, looked like it was a little bit slow.
Oh, last in there. Anders Dahl forced his way through, down in towards Lecou, and that was almost a big incident. That is what we like to sometimes call the definition of a late pass. But let's have a look then on board with that driver of Anders Dahl in towards Lecou. That was very, very late on the brakes there for Anders Dahl. Yeah, he knows how to do so. But thankfully there, Leighton Fine giving him plenty of room as the number 77 Virgil Racing Black car moves itself up a position. Well, that was a quick couple of moments there. Next, Garcia Jr. versus Tony Mufti. That one will continue on. 2 tenths per second. We've been talking about this one so often, Jimmy. And yeah, it will come down to strategy. What happens on pit road sometimes more important than what you do on track.
I mean, we've got a couple of people out there double stinting, like you said before, and this is the we are not going to see the results of this strategy until the ending parts of the race. But at the moment, the car's very close on track, and it may just be a better idea at the moment to sort of sit line astern. You saw there, just on the screen, with Anders Dahl going up the inside of the Mad Cow car. That would have lost them both quite a bit of time doing that. I mean, yeah, track position was gained, but if you're there scrapping and just always driving offline, you're going to be losing time. So at this point, if you aren't too much faster or too much slower than the car behind or in front of you, it's worth just sort of staying with them. It's always better to have a partner as well. Gives you an idea of where to brake as well. So it's always good to be with someone in that aspect. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see how the strategies play out.
Last time by, Ollie Packard. Well, it was 15 to a second faster there, Jake. Talk to that one as you will, but this lap looks to be faster for Ollie Packard compared to Isaac Price.
Yeah, it is at the moment. You have to say that Red Line Blue are in a really good position right now. 2:19.8 compares to a 2:19.8, but, you know, any sort of time gain is beneficial, and that's just showing you just how much pressure Ollie Packler is really putting then onto the car of Isaac Price. Of course, Isaac Price is a fresher driver there coming down into it, but they are in a position where they're really trying to push. They are really trying to get that time back in, but he does have the ability to stay behind. He does have the ability to waste the fuel of Inex Racing Red. There is no potential here for Isaac Price to go and draft off of someone and say, you know, my fuel's going to be a little bit lighter than someone else's, because they're in a position where they're trying to just keep going, just stay at the front. Doesn't have any benefit of slipstream or anything. So I think Ollie Packler here has dictation of this race, and it's all about when he makes the move, not if.
Now, someone noticed the fact that Buttercup seemed to be having himself a little bit of an issue, so he's come in for a little bit of a rub, getting himself a new driver, Lars Jeppesen now, going to be behind the wheel of that one. A little bit early on strategy, but it's okay. Kind of can hit the window if you're good for the rest of the event in terms of making sure you keep yourself to the strategy number. Anders Dahl looking very fast once again. Anders Dahl, all the way down in P number 21 though, Randy. We don't often say that. That shows the quality of the racing here.
Yeah, I mean, Anders Dahl, one of the most successful sim racers here in the GT cars. He's dominated in a lot of the private series here in the GT stuff, I think most notably in the Target Virginia races. But here, you know, someone who has dominated quite that hard. Look where he's running. He's running 21st position. That shows you the strength of this field, the fact that there's 20 people ahead of him that are fighting really, really hard. That's the thing about this race. We're not really seeing the breakaway we're used to seeing in these endurance-style races. We're seeing a lot of tight action here. Actually, I believe our top 4 is starting to spread out just a little bit.
Yep, just a little bit, but we sometimes see that. Of course, we're now into the second half of a stint, and the question is going to be, who can maintain their tyres the best? Isaac Price still has got Ollie Packard right behind him. William Levesque still within a second. Third. Dave Geeling is the one who's fallen off a little bit, actually, Randy. He's 1.1 seconds now behind William Levesque.
Yeah, and the interesting there is that Dave Geeling of these top 4, and actually if Coanda was still involved of the top 5, Dave Geeling is the only driver who actually stayed in the car for a double stint. Everyone else, actually no, I take that back, Ollie Pacala stayed in as well. So that's kind of interesting to see. We see Ollie Pacala in the second half of this 2-hour-long stint that we're assuming maybe a triple, but I find that doubtful. One of the only drivers here that's actually gaining time here, considering Dave, also in a 2-hour stint at least right now, he's starting to fall off.
Yeah. It's an interesting conundrum that's going on right now in amongst the top 4 drivers of your field. Let's just cycle it down a little bit, shall we? And let's have a look at Frederick Rasmussen in the Core Sim racing machine. Continuing that battle, the Evolution Racing Australia car, a Beamer versus a Mercedes. Here's one thing worth noting, that really here, Jake, we've not seen too much in the differences of balance of performance. It is worth noting, though, that overall in the event here today, and I'm just trying to turn my attention back, we've got Mercedes, Audi, Mercedes, McLaren. I'm trying to figure out the first actual BMW that we have, and that is Matt Backham running in P number 7.
Yeah, but how much of that is actually down to, say, you look at the car of what is the VRS Commander 18 dropping out of the field? That would have put them right up in the mix. You have to say, it's really been a great race. We have seen a really nice balance of performance, and right now you have to say it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out in the second half of the race. There are going to be a couple of teams that are going to be struggling. There are going to be a couple of teams trying to looking at Rasmussen again here, Will, in the Core Sim Racing team, number 24. Had a little bit of a look there, but you have to say the car that's worse on the accelerator is going to struggle to make its moves down into these big braking zones, Will, and that is the disadvantage of running a BMW against Mercedes power.
Yeah, it is indeed. And there's the Core Sim racing car remaining in P number 24 for the time being. So far
Here comes
today,
Red Line Blue.
Ah, here they are then, battle for the race lead, and it's going to be Ollie Packard moving himself to the front of the field. Yeah, he'll get that one done easily. Let's get ourselves a second look at that one, show you how it unfolded. And it must have been a very slow run by Isaac Price up the hill, realistically there, Randy, because that really became Ollie Packard's one for the taking. Bump, done, bump, new race leader.
I mean, it really is. That Audi, it does have the top-end legs on that Mercedes. That Mercedes tends to make a lot of pace in the corners on the downforce. So that Kemmel straightaway into Lacombe, if Ollie Pacala can get a run, that is where he can absolutely dominate and get by. It was actually done very similarly, the same way that he got around William Levesque. Yeah. It was basically the same exact pass just done over again.
Well, actually, yeah. And it seems to be that he's just been waiting for an opportunity, waiting for a time when either Isaac Price or William Levesque just had a slightly slower run through La Source. And it does seem to be that number 38 machine seems sublime in sector number 1. So actually trying to get back past that Team Redline machine could well be an interesting circumstance. But we've got another new race leader, and this is why we love this series so much. And actually, it's worth noting that William Levesque is right behind Isaac Price all of a sudden. So now you've got Team Redline leading, Team INX Racing in P2, P3, P4, Jake.
Yes, we do, and I think it's going to be very interesting looking on into what will be the next round of pit stops. They will be coming up in what is, I believe, about 10 minutes' time. We'll be expecting to see the first of the few cars starting to pop themselves in, heading themselves around the final corner now. And it's interesting to see how William Levesque's going to play this. Of course, there are championship points at stake. There are very important results to try and get out of this, and INX Racing Red are in a fantastic position. It will be interesting to see whether they're going to hold station here behind Red Line Blue and just play the points game, or whether they're going to go all out for the victory in the later hours of the race.
And Nestor Garcia Jr. forcing himself then. They go side by side through the bus stop chicane. Iberica Racing moving himself then past Florian Wheaton. This has been a battle that's been God knows how long in the making. But now Pure Racing Team down into P number 9. And all of a sudden Antti Pajana thinks, you know what? I want a little bit of that as well, Jimmy.
Yeah, it seems like the best time to get involved is when they're squabbling, and like I said, that battle's been going on for a long time. I'm sure that Garcia Jr. is very happy to get past there. We're just watching Bajala now. I am anyway. Coming up, he's going to get a run up. There you go. He's got a good run through Rouge, and he's now got the slipstream of the Audi in front of him. He's got the double slipstream now coming up the Camel Straight, which is actually slightly uphill. You don't really see it in the broadcast, but it's a lot more uphill than you think it is. Both cars now slipstreaming the BMW in front. What's the move going to be? They're both going to go to the outside. One either side. Saunter, style. No, not quite. Oh, a little bit of contact there actually. And that there goes the Pure Racing Team car off to the left.
Yeah, so it's not been a good couple of laps for that number 12 car. There we are then. Let's have a look from up above and show you what happened here. The Pure Racing Team number 12 car. They look side by side. And yeah, you can see he just tried to turn into the corner when the corner wasn't given to him. Hey Nico, how's it going? But Florian Reef there in the number 12 car, now down into P number 11. Yes, Randy?
Reference game on point from you there.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing. Honest. Ollie Packer though, still leads this motor race. There's your top 8, bottom of your screen. Just over 4 hours of this event to go right now. Team Redline Blue leading, NX Racing Red, NX Racing Blue, NX Racing Red, NX Racing Yellow, NX Racing Blue. They are your top 4 teams. We'll get an update on the trials and tribulations of Jorn Jens. He's up into P number 26 right now, and he's hunting Matt Boozer for P number 25, Jake.
Yes, he is, and it's going to be very interesting to see how the 18 is going to push himself through the field. And right now, he is all over the back of Matt Booster's Gale Force Sim Racing car here as they head themselves down into Ravage, the right-hander here all the time. Cordovan No Name coming up then just by the trees on the right-hand side into the left-hand. You've got to be very careful on exit. There is hardly any runoff to really work with there if you're not too careful, but you know, he doesn't have to make the move straight away. It's going to be a game of BMW on BMW, and it's just going to be one where Jorn Jens is going to have to be a little bit patient. Can't do it straight away, but he knows that he does have a bit of clear air to Triton Racing in the 0-1 just ahead of that. So he can really work on it if he gets the move sorted on the number 83.
Indeed so. So, as it stands right now, Jorn Jens, well, this graphic's horrible. Down 23 places overall from where he started. But he's trying to work himself back up. Last lap time, 2:20. And he's not really done anything faster than a 2:20, we don't think. Well, maybe a couple of 2:19 to throw into the mix, actually. I do take that one back. But here comes Jorn Jens, and he should, car's just going to let himself go past. So no point in fighting with him. When you know the situation is as is. They now work themselves down in towards the bus stop chicane. And the next car on track for Coanda is actually a Coanda car in terms of track positions. But of course, that number 88 machine having a 2-lap penalty in this event. Next real driver will be Triton Racing with Martin Fitzpatrick. And the gap between those two drivers is now 6.1 seconds as it stands. Well, we've got a driver on pit road. That is Benike there, 73 machine. Again, a little bit early. But of course, second pit stop of the day. This team had a drive-through penalty. So they took up the end of lap number 3, Jimmy. And well, it seems to be Benike might be getting out the car, I think, after this stint or the next. Of course, he's done the first 2 stints of this event.
So we'll see in a couple of seconds, no doubt. There is him getting out of the car. He's done a good job regardless of his position. The position doesn't really tell the entire story. Like you said at the start of the race, they were doing very well. They were up in the top 3, and having that drive-through has put the car all the way back down to the bottom of the field. Now they're currently sitting in 19th position in the pits. Probably will lose a couple of places here, but I'm still waiting to see if we're going to see a drive stop or not. I think we might see one more stint out of Benike before he gets out of the car. He has done a good job. Lap times have been good, and all he can do really is keep putting in those laps and trying to gain back time. There was a point where he was downing about 34 positions, so he's done a good job to claw back up to where he is now.
Yep, so there's a look then at pit road. So, as it stands, here is your top 3, ladies and gentlemen, on track. Getting ourselves close to another round of pit stop. We're going to step aside very quickly. We'll be back with more after this. He's typing. He's typing. He's got it. He's got it. It's a new line of code. I'll get my code. Sorry.
So hey, this is the new iRacing scanner. So hey, this is...
Simulated racing can be awesome, but can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are just gonna try and do something real quickly to sort out what we know is happening. But we'll be back in about 30 seconds time. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to hour 3 then of this, the 6 hours of Spa, here on Race.TV, streaming live as ever on iRacing Live. Will Vincent here along with Andy Cheneth, with GBB, along with Jake Sperry, as we're now, let's say, into the 3rd hour. We expect pit stops happening for some people. Well, we've got a couple already. We've got Isaac Price on pit road. Pit stop number 2. Of course, Isaac Price only done one stint in this car. Question's going to be, Jimmy, is he staying in?
I think it would be the good decision to keep him at this point. He showed some good pace. You know, he's been leading this race for a while now. He was leading for a race, the race until the red line got passed. But I don't see why not. He's in a groove. You know, obviously he's got the car where he wants it to be. Although it's always difficult, and it sounds strange when you go from a car after having sort of worn tyres and no fuel to a car with nice tyres and lots of fuel, because the car handles quite a bit differently. So that'll be interesting to see how he handles that when he comes out. But I think I don't think he is staying in the car. I think there is a driver swap going on. Yes, there is, and that's Yoni Tamala now in the car, so there has been a driver swap there.
Yep, so Yoni Tamala getting back behind the wheel, and let's not forget, he was the driver who did the first of the stints here today. And, well, it looks like maybe they're just switching around between 2 or 3 of them here. And, well, Yoni, of course, seemed to be faster in his first stint compared to what we saw when Isaac Price was behind the wheel of that car, Jim. So it's going to be interesting now in the next couple of laps.
We'll see. He had pace beforehand, and you know, again, it's just a matter of getting back into that groove. It's a little bit odd, though, to have sort of get out of the car and then get back in it again. I'm not quite sure why it was so quick. I mean, I would have given Isaac more time in the car if I were sitting on the Inex pit wall myself, but I'm not. I'm here in the box. That's where I belong. So maybe it's for the best. Maybe there's something that Isaac needs to get done, or maybe there's something that Yoni can bring to the table, but time will tell, as it always does in endurance racing.
Yep, so there we are, the NX Racing red car. Yoni Tamala out and away then. Total time for him. That's not the right graphics. We'll put the right one up there, 109. But now here come the rest of the people on towards pit road, potentially. Ollie Pakala will stay out. But I think we just saw... Actually, no, Ollie Pakala has stayed out. So he's stayed out for another lap. William the Vet is the driver on towards pit road, Randy.
Yeah, it is right now, and this is interesting to me, the fact that we're seeing people pit so early. We saw Friction Racing, they had such a long stint. Now, obviously, they're undoubtedly saving gas to do that, but it's very odd to me that these people or excuse me, rather these teams, they're wanting to come in just right at the hour mark. I would imagine that the better strategy would be to just fill this tank up, go as long as you can, and then give yourself as short of a final stint as possible, because then that really does open up the strategy to where you can potentially save those tires. It just seems to me everyone's coming in too early to do that. They're just coming in right at the 1 hour mark, really stagnating their potential strategy. We see Redline and of course NX Blue stay out, and actually this is going to be where we need to watch actually that friction car again. Let's see what they happen to do this time by. I believe it was 2 hours and 18 minutes, or excuse me, 1 hour and 18 minutes the first stint. Let's see if they can stretch anywhere near that this time by. Their pace has been relatively similar, unfortunately.
Yeah, meanwhile though, Ollie Pakala stays out, and this is going to be the thing that's worth talking about, Randy, because if they do stay out and they do continue to do all this, then actually their final stop will be substantially faster, which will mean they'll be in more control of the event.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, and not to mention, you know, if you can stay out 3 to 4 minutes extra, that advantage gains. So if you're 4 minutes past the hour of the first stint, you're 8 minutes past the hour of the second stint, you're 12 minutes the third, and it'll just keep going on. You'll have a very, very short final stint, and potentially you can pull what Coanda did at Silverstone and maybe even double stint the tires. We know it's more difficult to do in this Audi because it's twitchy. We know it's difficult to do in the Mercedes because it weighs, I think, 7 tons. But still, the fact of the matter is, I think just doing this, you just make yourself very, very unflexible. Yeah, in the race conditions, you may not have the track position from hour 1 to hour 5, but from hour 5 to hour 6, you'll have the advantage, and that's when you want it.
Indeed so. We're just having a look there at Glacier Racing versus Core Motorsports. Neil Koss and Bajala as the center of attention. And again, Ollie Pakala stays out and does another lap. Now, this is actually not that bad. Yeah, Dave Gilling's on towards pit road. So this is an interesting one because NX seems to be bringing one in at a time.
The Vec's got the jump, by the way.
Okay, talk us through it.
Yeah, it just seemed in the pits there. Tamala's had not the best of stops there. NX Racing Red, not good. It's a massive gap here, Will. We're talking about half the Kemmel straight right now of a gap, so that's about 4 or 5 seconds we're looking at here. Sorry to cut you off like that, but that's really interesting here in terms of strategy. Levesque and NX Racing Yellow have done everything they need to do, and I don't know how much of it is down to a driver switch.
It was because it was a 104.6 pit stop for William Levesque, a 109 pit stop for Yoni Tamala. And this is coming back to what Randy was saying a moment ago. Because of the fact that some of these times, drivers seem to be just putting in enough fuel to get themselves to do an hour. Compare that to Ollie Pakala. Now, we don't expect Ollie Pakala to actually realistically be in for another 3 minutes, Randy, because of the fact that they're doing 1 hour 5 stints. If you do it properly, 1 hour 5, they're in 2 laps time. It seems to be that's not always the case doesn't seem to be the case with Dave Geeling and the other guys from NX because of the fact that they're just kind of getting themselves to a gap and then just coming in. They say, okay, we're doing 60-minute stints, then we're changing. And I think your actual argument there is right, because Ollie Pakala, my personality, in my estimation, will probably have a 10-15 second faster pit stop at the end of this motor race.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because I mean, that advantage is going to gain every single time. Here at Spa, you generally burn roughly in the realm of about a gallon, maybe a little bit over per lap, depending on the car. So if you can stretch that every single time, and these cars, I mean, it is a roughly, I believe it's a 90-second pit stop, 80, 90, somewhere in the realm there. And it takes about 45 seconds just to fill fuel, and if you take that into account, that is a 2 to 3 seconds every single gallon.
Yeah. So Robin Friscop's in behind the wheel of the NX Racing machine, keeping an eye out on Ollie Pakala for the time being, seeing when he is going to come on towards pit road. So, we're just going to have a look at Ollie Pakala stays out for another lap. Give us 5 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. Be right back. So here we are. Ollie Pakala then, still behind the wheel of that car. Let's have a look. Neil Koss now in second place in the Core Motorsports car. Of course, Core was one that went a little bit long at the end of the first stint. Antti Pajala stays out as well. No, he's now on towards pit road in the number 42 machine. So Glacier Racing on towards pit road. We'll give you a full update in a moment. But Ollie Pakala, we expect him in at the end of this lap.
Yeah, I think it's either going to be this lap or next lap. I think Ali Pacala starts coming in. Last time it was he came in on lap 27, 28. So here he's looking, should be 54, 55. Maybe be able to stretch another lap. And here's the thing: every single lap Ali Pacala goes, the advantage stretches to Redline further and further and further.
So here is how it stands. Yoni Tamale, let's give you a quick update on this part of the field. Yoni Tamana in the NX Racing Red is actually now at the rear of these three Gagala cars. The reason why? Robin Friscops is now in the middle because he did a 65-second pit stop. And well, Jake, when you put all that together, yes, it's not really time on track, and yes, it will change a little bit later on, but it seems to me that the NX people are just trying to play games with us and remember who's in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, it's an interesting switcheroo game that's playing on here with NX. You look at Robin Friscops, new driver behind the wheel, going to see exactly what sort of pace he can crank out. I mean, we all know how quick Joni Tamala can be, not just in this car, but in the iRacing World Championship as well. You got to look at this one and say that William Levesque's done the right strategy. He's got out ahead and got that little bit of a gap. But it's all going to be dependent here on Ollie Pakala to see how this race goes on, because at the moment he is in a fantastic position right now in order to try and score himself some great points. And well, now here we go. Let's see if he comes in this time. Will hits himself on the brakes into the right hander. He comes along, and well, will he come in? Answer is no. He'll stay out one more lap.
We have got Alexia Loma now behind the wheel of the number 42 machine. Tommy Hacker running is on pit road as well in the number 36 car, doing himself a service. We've got ourselves Riley Preston now behind the wheel on the number 70 Evolution Racer Australia car. Sebastian Job behind the wheel of the number 2 Apex Racing UK machine. So, we've got a lot going on track here. Yoni Tamada is actually right behind Robin Friscops right now. And having a look at the last, we don't know the last lap times because of outlaps, etc, etc. But Yoni Tamada, we know, was the fastest of the NX Racing drivers earlier on. Question's going to be here, Jake, is he going to be the fastest of them later on? Well, now.
It's going to be very interesting to see here in terms of what NX are trying to do. I think they're in a position where you're going to see these three guys are all going to push as quickly and as hard as they can. The advantages at the moment you have for William Levesque, because he's in a position where he's been in the car before. He doesn't have that 1 hour break that he's had. He can just go back out there. He's still in his range. He's still in his prime. And you've got to look at Friscops and Tamala, who are new back into the car. And you have to say they're going to take a couple of laps getting back used to how it feels. Maybe something's a little bit different. Maybe there was a little bit of a touch somewhere on the car which has changed how the dynamic feels. They've got to adapt a lot quicker to a driver like Levesque, who has already adapted so far well. So I believe that Levesque has the advantage, especially in the opening 15 minutes of the stint.
Yes, indeed so. But we're, of course, trying to get ourselves working now to figure out, oh, we've got Frederick Rasmussen on pit road, number 24 machine, McCall Sim Racing. So he's now coming in to make himself another pit stop. Ollie Pakala then. Let's figure out where he is. He's exiting Stavilo 1, now into Stavilo number 2. So, now working themselves on the exit of Stavilo 2 down towards the bus stop chicane. Now, realistically, he should definitely be in this time by. And everyone else is pitted around him. Of course, the one driver who shouldn't have pitted should be... is it that number 33 machine? No, it's not the number 33 machine. We're looking for...
Talking about Friction Racing Bandits, I was going to
Yes.
actually mention this. Marco Mogren in Friction Racing Bandits, he's actually just in front of Ollie Pakala right now. So when Ollie
yeah.
decides to pit, that's when this is where we're going to be able to see what is the advantage of Marco maybe not being able to pit. Because Ollie was right behind Marco, we're going to be able to see what is the advantage gained of not pitting in terms of space on track. That's how far behind Marco would be able to be if he can save a pit stop and still maybe compete for a win. Now here they were basically roughly even on track right now. They're both working through the bus stop as Ollie comes in, and Marco is currently working himself into a rouge. When Ollie exits the pit lanes here, we're going to have to see where this number 69 car is on track. That'll be the gap they need to try to have.
Right, so Ollie Pakala now is on pit road. Let's listen into his pit stop. Alexei Isiakola getting in behind the wheel. So it's going to be Alexei who's going to do the next couple of pit stops here as we eke ourselves a little bit closer to halfway in this event. So, 2 stints done then by Olli Pakala. Alexei Isiakola, of course, another driver in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, now gets behind the wheel of that machine. Cool Motorsports, Neil Kosh hasn't yet pitted. Fabiano Gonzalez in the Frost Mustang Brown Red car hasn't yet pitted. Jorgens, of course, is in a weird situation. He's runs himself in third, but of course we know that he's on this very weird situation. And actually, one thing we do need to do is figure out when he will come onto pit road next, because that will have a huge implication on some of the things happening for the rest of this event. So Alexei Isiakola comes out of pit road then in the number 38 machine, and here he is. He works himself up the hill. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take about 10 minutes. We're going to try and take this broadcast over to YouTube Live, see if it fixes some of the issues we've been having. Thanks for sticking with us. We'll be back very, very soon.